there, ref. That's he got the ball. Good evening, Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys, Dave and Jack, for what is your time of the week. It's your weekly fan show every Monday from 7 till about 9:30. It's where you could basically come on and have your say. For all of you great members out there, your link is up in the community section. Simply just go to that on the channel page, click on it. It will bring you in. We've got a pretty full back end at the minute. So just maybe hold off about 20-30 minutes and then click on it and come in and we'll make sure we get your spot. Look, I wish we were talking today after a victory. You know, I wasn't really expecting much heading up to Goodison Park with a record up there the last 6 years. But to be 3-0 down to an Everton team who scored a fifth of their goals in one game, you know, they've only scored 15 all season before, that is absolutely disgraceful. You know, I'm of the opinion now it's sort of like, look, regardless of the injuries and that, it's just not working out. And I do think, you know, going forward, I think it's only inevitable a change in manager will probably happen. However, the board seem to be putting out the same narrative that they did before the game, that they're going to keep him in the job and that they want to back this guy. But then that brings on the big question. Why haven't you backed him yet? Why didn't you back him in the summer? Why didn't you back him last January properly? And why are we still sitting around here in January, the 20th, twiddling our thumbs with about 10, 13 days left to go in the transfer window? Nowhere near good enough from the club. We're in absolute shambles right now, trying to stave off a relegation battle with Hoffenheim during the week and Everton at the weekend. But get this, we've got defensive injuries, but yet Tottenham being offered Milan Skriniar, player of great experience, which would be great for some of them young players in and around the team, considering Postecoglou has called for leadership and stuff like that. You'd think he has it in abundance, but his wages are a stumbling block. Do we just not understand the urgency or something like that? It's an absolute disgrace. But Jack, how are you, my man?
I'm also equally frustrated over the fact that it seems like Spurs are in this stall of they don't want to bring any transfers to back Postecoglou, because that's all the rumors that we're getting is that Spurs believe in Ange. They want to back Ange. They want to give him time, give him patience, but they haven't done really much of anything other than Kinski this transfer window to deliver on that, or whatever those rumors that have been coming out from the so-called ITKs of the world. And it's then left us to be pretty frustrated, Dave. It feels like, you know, are they kind of just waiting for him then just to lose a bunch of games for him to be, you know, justifiably sacked, I guess, you know, based off the form, because they're not really putting in any sort of transfers to, you know, back up what we're hearing from various media sources, that he's, you know, the guy that they believe in and he's the guy that they want to back. Because if that were the case, then they would be trying to help out with all of the various issues that we've basically seen from some of the first games of the season. We don't have a left-sided defender. We don't really have enough attackers to pick from of any real quality, and various other issues. No number 6, and maybe not all of them are addressable in this January window, but it felt like a couple of them definitely were, you know, in the immediate fact needed to be addressed. And January 20th, I actually can't believe it. It's already January 20th, but they haven't brought in a single soul other than Kinski, which didn't even seem like maybe the most necessary at the time, but shown to be definitely necessary. But I think that's where my frustration is, Dave. Like, do they want to sack Ange, or are they kind of waiting to sack Ange, or do they really believe in Ange? It's impossible to tell.
No one knows. No one knows at all, lad. You know, this is the problem. You know, we're getting one message, but the actions don't necessarily back it up. And fans are getting impatient over here. And look, they can come out and say it's hard to act in this window. It's a tough window to act. Fine. I get it in January. We've always said that about the January window. That's why you're supposed to do your business in the summer, and we failed to do it adequately. So they're in a position now where they have to play catch-up, and it's up to them to pay the extra money, pay the extra wages, if that's what they have to do. They're going to have to realize they're going to be extorted to a certain extent this window, but you created the problem in the summer. It's up to you to go and fix it. Let's wait and see if they can do that. Last time we were in this position under Juande Ramos, you know, going into the season, they ended up selling Berbatov and Robbie Keane on Juande Ramos, put us into a relegation battle. It was Harry Redknapp that came back in, brought Robbie Keane back to the club. We ended up staving off that fight. Are the club going to make as an impactful signing that we need in that forward line and maybe a defender this January transfer window? Well, with what, 10 to 13 days left to go? I don't back so. I don't think so. I think the odds are against him. You'll probably get, you know, a cheap loan deal or a youngster in towards the end of the window on a deadline day signing to try and appease people. Nowhere good enough from this club. And look, this is what it's all about. Let's get it. Let's hear what people have to say. We'll go through the comments. Welcome you guys in at home, and then we'll crack on and start getting the people on in the back end. Big up, Rhino. Good to see you, my man. We also have THFC Till I Die member for 35 months. Thank you guys for everything you've done. You started me on my YouTube journey. You are always being there, good and bad times. Your brothers, not for Spurs, but for everything. Both Spurs legends. Really appreciate that, Dermot. Very, very kind of you, my man. And it's likewise, it goes the same way, my man. Very, very nice of you, Dermot. We also have Moondog in the house. Big up, my man. How's Moondog or how's Charlie after the North London derby, my man? Hopefully, he's a little bit better, although I say everything probably hasn't made him feel any better. Big up, Donovan. The Tottenham Hotspur Therapy Variety Hour begins. Big up, Dave and Jack, for doing this for us fans. Nah, look, everyone needs the therapy. You give it to us most days of the week, so it's only right that we offer you, time to give you your therapy as well. Big up Spurs GCTV. Great to see you. Big up Eugene as well. Good to see you. Looking forward to speaking to you. I believe he's in the back end for later on as well. Good to see you, my man. We have Coys87. Get this fraud out now. You want about Levy or Postecoglou? Let me know. We've got Dan Coy says, I'd be happy to keep with the formation, but if Ange isn't going to rotate, then he has to keep his right back, left back in position, conceding too many goals from that position, and they struggle to get back. Come on, you Harris Army. Look, for me, I actually just lost a lot of respect for him, considering he's gone against his message. His whole thing was, I'm not going to change. It's up to the players to play my way, which I think is the right approach. Then all of a sudden, yesterday, he switched it up to a back three, and it was absolutely atrocious. And how much time did we have to work in that between the North London derby and Everton? I'd argue very little. You're in for a recovery the day after the game, and then you're also in for a light warm-up, the day before the game. So how much time did we actually work on it? And it was evident on the football pitch. And funny enough, I actually think if we just went with the four at the back, put Archie Gray into the midfield, I actually think we would have came out with 3 points. That's where I just get annoyed, my man. And it is also a recognition that he's changed up, that he stopped believing in what he's asking people to do. So if he's stopping to believe in it and he's changing for these players, then, I think it's only going to cost him his job. I think it's only staving it off for a couple of weeks with the board acting like this. Big up, Thomas. Great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Swim Master, I'm confident we'll beat Leicester at home after that. I just can't be I can't be too confident going into any games anymore. Swim Master. Mary W. Good evening, Dave, Jack, and another ruined weekend. Where are the signings? I mean, look, we're all asking the same question, Mary. I don't know. Maybe there's a travel ban going on around Europe or something like that we're just not aware of. English 135 says, evening, guys. It's tough times now, but we've got to stand tall and hold our heads high. We are Tottenham Hotspur. Don't take any rubbish. Come on, you Spurs. Look, when it comes to opposing fans, I won't take any rubbish whatsoever. But when we're in amongst Tottenham fans, I will. This is where I can cry. This is where I can vent. You can cuddle me. We're all in the same family. Big up, Andy. Got Wilson 94. Big up, boys. Still really depressed and can only see the end of Ange. Interested to hear what people's thoughts are on a replacement. Look, I'm sure we'll get them tonight, my man. We've got Mark Sheen Davis talking a lot of sense these days. Really appreciate it. Look, do you know what's mad, actually, lad? I was telling Jack, I was laughing. I was on last on the Spurs there last week, and after my appearance, while I was live and all, I generally got very good comments, but after it, 2 people went out the way to message me on Twitter. One saying, oh, absolutely, talk a lot of sense, really enjoyed your contribution. Another going, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you're clueless, you're an idiot, this, that, and the other, time that we're in. But I appreciate that you think I'm talking sense, Mark. Very, very you, my man. RST says his playing style should be the stumbling block, not his wages. It's 2 to 3 years too late for Skriniar. He would be another Dragic physical, but gets turned into it and isn't fast. No, look, 100%. I understand that, but we do need leadership in that dressing room. We do need experience, and I do think, if you can get him in on loan, subsidize some of the wages and stuff like that, I think it'd be good temporary for 6 months, considering where we are. Big up, Danny says, even if they don't sign a centre-back, as defenders come back soon, they need to replace the wingers, especially on the left, as they have planned for Odegaard's absent, which was before this window. Absolutely spot on. DB says, big up, boys. Here we go again. In cold light of day, it's about staying up. That's the number one focus. Board meeting in the morning. We will see. Well, look, let's wait and see what happens. But, regarding what's put out there report-wise today, it's the same as heading into this game, that they're fully going to back him, fully convinced he's still the right man for the job. Where did you hear about the board meeting tomorrow? Please let me know, DB. We've got We Are Spurs TV. Big up. Good to see you with Spurs TV. Hopefully you're keeping well. Eugene in the house says we had a relegation quality side on the pitch last night, regardless of tactics. No players coming in. That's a fair point to make. Bookie TV question, boys. Would you take relegation if it guaranteed Levy out? Nowhere near it. Nowhere near it. I don't ever want to see this club get relegated. And to be honest, I think that's the wrong channel to be asking this question. I think you go somewhere else. You might get an answer to that, but I'm definitely not for me. Who else have we got here? Make sure we're not missing anyone. Shem Thomas in the house. Great to see you. Hey, Jack and Dave. Hope you're both well. Still fed up with this whole Spurs situation. They're still backing Ange without actually backing him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to describe, but didn't do it as efficiently as Shem did there. Sorry, Dave.
No, it's what's pissing everybody off, Shem. They're saying one thing, but the actions don't match up. William Webb says Ange has only lost by more than one goal once since he came. Let's be calm and be patient. 18 months is not good enough. Well, big up William Webb. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Look, feel free to expand on that comment, my man. Put it in the chat. Let's, pose this to someone that comes on who has a difference of opinion. Mike Pepper says the club is a shambles. Football is like a bad toothache for Levy. Look, our football is just gone absolutely turgid. No excitement when Tottenham can't do that and going forward. Effing hell says, hi guys, I'm crying. Probably crying with laughter. Or no, you're not an Arsenal fan. Sorry, I've mistaken you. Yeah, but we're all sharing them tears. None of us were too happy yesterday after the game. I can tell you that. K32 says, hello, Dave and Jack. Hope you're both well. Did you see Mido's tweet today saying it's not the manager to blame, it's the top? That's wrong. Club is treated like a business, not a football club. Wonder has Mido been listening to me then, the last, I don't know how many months. I could expand on that with Mido. Maybe we should get him in for a good interview and I can pose my question about Johan Lang to him, my question about Kane and Son to him. Maybe we can expand on that meeting. But look, this is what I keep saying. We keep failing managers. We just keep failing them, regardless of what people think about Postecoglou. We didn't do things right by him, like we didn't do Jose, Conte, Nuno. We keep pissing about. It's nowhere near good enough. But big up K32. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. But look, I think that's everybody welcomed in, guys. I think that is. So look, we're going to crack on. Let's just start cracking into the guests. It's going to be a busy one tonight, so we will start getting them on. I believe Chris is first, our buddy from Newcastle. Let's hear what he has to say. Big up, Chris. How are you keeping, sir?
Evening, Dave. All right, Jack.
General.
You could probably hear by the tone of my voice, I am really, really pissed off.
Yeah.
Do you know what, David, right? Now, I've always been Ange, right? I've always had him on the fence, but I don't think he's going to last much longer. I think he's got to go. This football has turgid me. After watching that first half yesterday, Everton, I turned it off. I couldn't watch it anymore. It was too depressing. He's just sucking the life out of me. Do you know, right, David? I have a theory for signing. Yeah? I don't think we're going to sign anybody, but as soon as the transfer window closes, then they're going to sack Ange. So there's nothing we can do. This is the way that Levy operates. This is what I believe is going to happen. We're going to sign nobody in the window, or it's going to be a cheap option. Then they sack Ange in February.
Surely, though, there's an understanding from Daniel Levy because, look, despite what people say about him, you'd like to think he's sort of tuned into the situation around him to a certain degree. Surely he can't ignore the need for signings this January, Chris. Like, it's so evident, regardless, even if you do make a manager change or that is the plan after January that they want to, you still have to bring in players now.
So do you know what, David? I don't believe we're going to bring anybody. And until I see the shirt in the hands, I don't believe any of these rumours. Because it's pointless. Right, it's like Rwani. He allegedly chose Juventus over. Possibly we didn't want to offer them enough wages for him, so they turned it down. And Juventus get a better offer. We don't know the truth about that deal. And then there's all these others. We're looking into players. Stop looking, buy them. Enough.
Let me ask you. You're absolutely spot on. But let me ask you, Chris. Big up, Phil. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. The sharpest dressed man in his 40s I've ever seen. But Chris, just quick question. Who do you blame for not being able to get in the signings? Do you blame Daniel Levy, or who supposedly is taking a back step from the footballing operations? Or, do you blame the DOF, who has shown a history over 3 windows now, or 2.5 windows, if people want to be fair to the guy, where he hasn't been able to get in any players of caliber?
I blame them both. They're just equally to blame because obviously Levy's setting a budget for Johan Ange to go out and get those players, and Johan's bringing back what he can afford with whatever budget that Levy's giving him. So it's both of them. But I'll tell you what, yeah, right? Them two together, it's like Dumb and Dumber. Honestly, it's like watching Dumb and Dumber. Both of them. Obviously, they don't have the net sense. They were both of the Scott Mann, Cullen, and Lee were all at the game yesterday. What were they watching? It's like they weren't interested. They were just sitting there with his hand on his chin, like, oh. Well,
do you know what they were probably watching, Chris? They were probably down there watching the build of Everton's new stadium to make sure they don't have it and we don't.
Yeah. Do you know what, dude? I don't know. I don't know anymore with this club. I'm at a loss for words. Sorry, I am. I don't believe anything any rumors ITK comes out with unless they got the shirt in hand. Then I believe it's done. Until then, but I know what's going to happen. Last minute deadline saying, like you said, cheap option because we couldn't get no one else. They wasted too much time.
Or a cheap option, maybe to appease some fans in some regard. But
yeah.
Chris, do you think the players are still believe in him, or do you think there's maybe fractions within the squad that are becoming big enough?
Well, do you know what? I don't care what the squad have to say. It's James Maddison's son. They can all. I don't care. I really don't care what they have to say anymore.
Do you think they're giving up on him? If kind of like the Everton game, they just look so lost. Maybe it's just the way he set them up, but they're kind of just, again, they do look like.
Do you know what, Jack? I just couldn't care less whether they set how they were set up or not. They should have. That was a game we should have won. That game. How they have the lowest amount of goals scored in the league. Yeah, right. And do you know what? It would be Tottenham that does it, isn't it? We did it against Crystal Palace when they hadn't beat the team at home all season. We go there, we lose to them. Yeah, it's the season. This is the story of our season. We're the whipping boy. We're the laughing stock. You know what I'm saying?
Chris, I want to ask you a question. I was watching Sky Sports last night while having my dinner, and didn't really help the situation because it just made me more angry. What they'd done is, they gave a United's interview of Amorim and Bruno Fernandes, and then after that they went on to Tottenham, and then they brought up Postecoglou's and James Maddison in his interview. Both interviews on the United side sounds of people that are there to fight. They want to win. They realize the situation. They want to come together to get it out of it. But when I looked at the Tottenham ones, Ange Postecoglou's and James Maddison, mumbling, no real enthusiasm, no real, fight in their voice, you know what I mean? And it is becoming concerning. When you put the Everton performance, the Arsenal performance, and the Tamworth performance all back to back to back, it does think of a manager that doesn't trust his players anymore, and players who just don't want to listen to the manager anymore.
Yeah, David, I'll tell you what. Me, I don't know. Yeah, James Maddison's interview yesterday. Oh, we know it weren't good enough. What you flipping me? You don't. You know it's not good enough. Where you can see it's not good enough. We've watched you for weeks doing the same shit every bloody game. What are we talking about? What the hell is he talking about? Ange kind of, well, we've got injuries. We've had injuries for 6 months now. What's new? Stop making excuses now. Enough of the excuses. See, that is, if they want to prove themselves to the club, prove it. Don't start coming out. All I'm saying, look, I'm not going to say that what happened with Son was right when him being called a wanker. I do think that was wrong. They shouldn't have done that to him after the services given to the club. However, I do understand the fans' frustration in the way. They're paying hundreds of pounds to go up to Liverpool to watch that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'll be a bit pissed off if I would travel up to Liverpool to go watch that.
On that, Chris, I think it's wrong in terms of it's a club legend. I mean, for me, aim at someone like Maddison, not here too long, has barely contributed, throwing his toys out of the pram, fine. But someone that's a club legend, I don't think you should. I understand why it's saying that him because he is the one wearing the captain's armband. But I do think that, there's got to be a lot more respect. This club.
Yeah, if it was aimed at Ange or Maddison or someone like that, I'd be like, yeah, deserve it. Because it is well deserved. However, doing it to Son, I felt a bit bad for him because how much it affected him. And
what about his performance?
But you know what? His performances all season haven't been great. But the thing is, nobody wants to talk about it because he's the captain. That's a fact.
I have a different theory why no one wants to talk about it. I don't think it's because he's captain. I think it's because everyone backed this guy to lead this club forward, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And plus, he's a club legend. Nobody wants to speak ill about a club legend. Yeah, okay, yeah, he could have left when Harry Kane left, but he didn't. He stayed on. Fair play to him, but he's no different to getting criticism than any other player. at the moment because of the situation we're in. Because he ain't helping it. None of those players are helping the situation. They've made it 1,000 times worse.
Let's take this comment here from Levy Towers, Chris. And big up Levy Towers. Where are they? Let me know. Let me know.
Or they're being built, Dave. They're being built. Yeah, that's what's happening.
They're probably up in the hillside somewhere overlooking everything. Says, I think some fans are scared if they sack Ange, they will never ever see attacking football again. What happened to balance? When we had Poch, we had a great defence and attack. We are a circus. Look, first of all, I'll take this just quickly. Look, when we had Pochettino, we had a really good 1-11. You know, when you look at our team right now, we're shit across the forward line. We don't have any players of real quality. Forget Son. He's done. He's dusted this season. We have no players of any real quality. In the midfield, we're relying on, 22 to 18-year-olds. And across the back line, half of them are out injured. It's just... Look, the situation was manifested in the summer when they didn't go out and do the business, where they left the holes. Everyone knew selling Harry Kane was going to be, well, not everyone actually. I knew selling Harry Kane was going to be a huge problem for this football club. Coming out of the season, it was clearly evident they need to go and get a proper striker. They went out and spent money on Dom Slank. Okay, I can understand that to a certain degree.
But also a season too late, maybe.
But have they gone out and addressed the problem as best as they could with other players that were out there on the market, realizing how hard it is to score goals? Also, get ahead of a declining Son. They chose not to do that. They're pissing about with Timo Werner, fucking Manor Sullivan, the cheap options. Not any players of note coming in here to alleviate the pressure on Son. And what we're seeing now this season is a complete decline of Tottenham Hotspur. And look, one thing I'm going to say about Ange Postecoglou, he's the only manager that hasn't had Kane and Son to bail him out. Where other managers have. And I think there's something to be said about that. But look, I understand the balance comment, Levy Towers, but for me, it comes down to stop employing managers. You change it from a manager to head coach. You're bringing in players for the club, not for the manager. Go and bring in a manager that's known for flexibility, not stuck in his steadfast philosophies. Because now we keep getting ourselves into a situation, since Pochettino, everyone Spurs fan moaning, crying, he wanted that. Why would he? He's won everywhere else. He's been Bar, Tottenham Hotspur. Why would they adapt? They've never had to in their life, and they don't know how to, quite frank. That's why the club now need to match up the transfer policy with the right coach. Flexibility. If they want flexibility, that's what they need to go and hire. But Chris, anything you want to say to Levy Towers?
I agree with the bulk and majority of that. But however, back then, that 11 we had back then when we had Poch, you put them against our team on the pitch today, they would annihilate us.
Yeah.
They would annihilate that team.
You
know what I'm saying? They would destroy it. We had the prime Son, we had the prime Kane, we had the prime Kyle Walker, the Danny Roses, the Vertonghen, the Alviras. We haven't replaced players like that. Poch said it originally. When furniture starts to age, it's not as good. We need to update the furniture. And you know what? Daniel Levy has neglected that. And you know what? I don't believe, I told him, I believe in my heart, that I don't think Levy wants to invest in this transfer window. And you know what? If he does, it's going to be a cheap loan signing last minute. And hopefully, the fans won't be too pissed off with it. But David, we don't need a quick fix. We need a long-term fix, quick time. Because we're thinking, we're going under.
I know.
Yeah.
We haven't won. We haven't won since November, since the end of November, start of December.
Look at the title, Chris. 5 points from the last 10 Premier League matches. That's a possible 30. So 5 from 30. It's relegation. It's like Sheffield United of like a last season, or something like that. It's just it's beyond dismal. It's beyond dismal.
David, we should be looking down at teams. We're looking up at them, and we're looking down like crap. The trapdoor's just there.
I know.
We're not far off the relegation.
I know.
David,
I know.
we laugh, but it's not. We laugh about relegation, but we're not far off it, David. Let's be true.
I know. When you look at the teams in relegation, we haven't beaten any of them this season, so the omens don't look good. But Chris, it's been a pleasure, my man. We do have to crack on. We've got a full back end, and I appreciate your time this evening, my man. Like you keep saying, it's great to have you back. Keep on the journey you're recording.
In saying that, Dave, thank you for you and Jack for having me back on after taking a little while off.
That's a pleasure, man.
No. Always happy back, Chris. Thank you, sir. Thanks for getting us started.
But come on, hopefully we'll get better and smash it like and get
Big up, Chris.
At least got to come on, you Spurs, for me. I love that, Chris. There's still something in you. Big up to you.
Still something. But big up, Levy Towers. Really appreciate the support. Jack, anything you want to say to Levy Towers before we move on?
I mean, I would only add the second sentence. I think everybody else has touched on the other parts of the comments that he's made there. But the part about, people are afraid that they might not see attacking football again. You never know with Daniel Levy. Like, will he just swing back the other direction again and just go for maybe a more conservative manager, a more defensive manager? And then that would really just scream delusion. You do hope that he goes for some sort of attacking manager of some kind, again. He should.
Yeah, I don't think, this not going
That'd be
away.
insane if he didn't.
Tearing him off it. Look, brings in another defensive manager. We know Spurs fans won't tolerate it. So, he's just making a rod off his own back. But big up, Levy Towers. Really appreciate support. Gordon Garage says, guys, not sure if it's been said yet, but if we lose to Leicester at home, we are going down. Foggy Foam says the same guy, Madison, who took Leicester down the championship. The guy has no fight, not a guy to rely on. And I've been saying this, you're absolutely spot on, Foggy Foam. That's why I'm concerned if we end up down there. We've got Shawnee Maddox, and then we'll take one from Jerome. He says, obviously we failed to replace Kane, but he was never going to today. So what would we have accomplished by not selling him? Okay, I posed the other, what have we accomplished by selling him? I told everybody Levy ain't going to spend the money, right? He spent it on Madison. He spent it on Udebur. He spent it on Brennan Johnson, Dom Solanke, all relegation fodder. And not only that, he also spent money on Richarlison from relegation fodder Everton. So, and this is exactly what I argue why not selling him. And the benefits of by not selling him is you have an extra year to try and work on getting him to sign that contract, Sean. So that's the benefits. But look, I don't want anyone to come back at me because I'm just not having it. At the end of the day, there was no benefit to selling them whatsoever. We end up buying relegation fodder and we're scrapping a relegation battle. So, I don't want to hear anyone make excuses on that one whatsoever. Even you, Shawnee, king of them. We've got Jerome in the house as well, says, it is not being scared of seeing attacking football. It is the fact that we keep changing manager over and over again, hoping things will get better. What do you say to that one, Jack?
I think it is the fear of also changing manager over and over again because we want to see a guy be given at least enough time to work things out because there will be obstacles in your way as a Tottenham Hotspur manager. It's not going to be made easy. That's from the board. It's from the players that usually you have to work with, usually players left over from the previous regime or the previous sort of kind of managers, kind of guys that he's had or just useless players, that we've always seemed to have, within the team that we try to get out. So there always will be a tough, period for the manager to try to embed his ideas while he also has a bunch of guys that are probably really not worth keeping around. By then you're like a year and a half, a year into the job. And then already I think we're starting to try to really judge, are they good enough? Can they really do it? Eventually something sort of goes against them. Something kind of seems to not go their way, whether it's transfers, injuries, maybe in both. In Postecoglou's case, we've seen it happen to Conte. We've seen it happen to Jose. And then it kind of just unravels them. And then we don't really seem to want to give them, I guess, a bit longer. What I would say, though, is that in Postecoglou's case, I've been very, very defensive of him, Jerome. You've heard me tons of times be defensive of him. The big difference, though, I would say, though, is you just do have to look at, and Dave brought it up, maybe the fact of having Son and Kane, bailing out previous managers could be a huge, huge influence and factor. But you just have to look at like the win rate and everything of like the previous managers versus this one. We sacked Conte, despite his outbursts of probably sacking himself. We sacked him when he was in fourth, sacked Jose before a cup final when we were kind of just tweedling, in and around sort of the European spots, we're kind of mid-table, and we sacked Nuno before the season even really got started. So it's just kind of, it is, with Ange, I would say they've shown probably more patience, than maybe they have previous managers. I do think though that they should try to see if they can show him, some type of patience, but it just seems like the more and more we lose games, the more and more I'm kind of losing that sort of belief that we can keep pushing on because the win rate is just so atrocious. I mean, the title of the video is, it's there for you. 5 points from 30 games. I mean, that's like, from 30 points. That's like something I would say of a Sheffield United from a previous year, like teams that just got walloped, week in, week out. And we've kind of become that team in the last 10 games.
And I'm sitting there trying to think, why are they showing Postecoglou more patience than any other manager at Tottenham? Is it because they recognize he's the first one that doesn't have Kane and Son to bail him out? And if they make a change, that the same problems are still going to be there. And then once they are evident, that's when people are going to start talking about it. Maybe so. Maybe there's something to do with that. But look, the biggest problem at Tottenham Hotspur is we keep changing managers. You know, we spend decent amount of money compared to other clubs, you know, in around the Premier League and stuff like that. But when you're constantly changing managers, you're making it spread over 8-9 positions every single summer. So we're never in a position where we have a fully settled squad that we can just go, bam, there's 80 million, go and buy one class midfielder, bring them in here. Never in that position. And it's a huge part of the problem. Look, let's wait and see what happens, Jerome. Big yourself up, my man. I really appreciate the video yesterday with your thoughts on that as well. Absolute legend. Big yourself up, my man. Big up DJ Samuel as well. Good to see you. The reality is, Sean, everyone came on here painting a rosy picture to me, and I'm still waiting for it to be uncovered. That's the reality of it. We've got Kay in the house, says, hey, lads. Hope you're well. Understand the frustrations. However, we always end up in this position and blame it on the manager. We need players, not a gaffer. And look, I keep saying this, you know, we keep blaming the manager for absolutely everything. And even now, I'm trying to have these conversations. It's like, look, it's almost pointless arguing whether Postecoglou should keep his job or not. It's getting to the point where it's virtually untenable now anyway. But to think that when he goes, all of Tottenham's problems are going to go with him, it ain't going to happen. We're still going to have the problems, you know, under Jose Mourinho. He's too old, outdated. His methods don't work anymore. He's the problem. He went. We still have the problems. We brought in Nuno. He went. We still have the problems. We brought in Conte. He's gone on to be successful. We still have the problems. All the managers have left Tottenham to go on and do better things. And we still have the problems. So I don't even want to hear the notion anymore. Sack him. Another guy's going to do better. The reality is the problems are club problems. They're inherent at this football club. And until people demand they're changed, we're never going to get the change. By bringing in a manager, all it is doing is putting a plaster or paper over the cracks. It's that simple, okay? We need signings regardless of bringing in a new manager anyway. Big up, my man. Future's bright. Future's lily white. Good to see you, along with Finn and Davey Hall as well. Great to see you guys. Hopefully you're keeping well. But look, let's keep cracking on. I believe the next guest we have on is Dermot.
Yes.
Dermot.
I haven't heard that one yet. Good one, Dave.
Let's bring him on. Dermot,
I
how are you?
quite like that. Dermot,
because it's Mario related.
That's a good one. It's a good one, Dave.
Dermotron, Dermotroni.
Yeah.
Break it down for us, sir. I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, do you keep back in Ange Postecoglou? Do you kind of have to end it here? What do you make of the fact that he hasn't been sacked yet? I mean, do you think that's a good decision?
I ended it on Sunday when we finished the game. My support for Ange. I cannot keep doing this anymore. I've done 2 post-match shows on my channel, and they've been the most emotional I've ever been after defeats. I mean, defeats hurt because I hate losing, and it hurts us. It doesn't hurt the players. I know it doesn't. I think the biggest problem at our club isn't Ange, isn't managers, it's the man that owns the football club. He's the biggest problem. If you keep sacking managers, but the situation doesn't change, then the problem is the man that's causing is hiring the managers. He's the problem. And he causes a problem not backing players. We're now in the 20th day of the January window. We've bought in a goalkeeper. Wowee.
Why do you think they haven't backed him, despite them coming out and saying all window, we're going to back him, we're going to back him, we're going to back him?
I personally, I think there's something happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, either with Levy or the takeover, or with Ange himself. I think there's a big argument behind the scenes of what Ange wants and what Levy will give him. I think John Lang and Scott Munn are their jobs now have become untenable. They have to go. They have to resign. We're missing the guidance of Paratici, to be fair. I think he was the one. I think when we did a Paratici, that one window when we bought in everyone, and if you look
another one chased out the club by fans.
I know, and it's stupid. I mean, you had fans when he got done by Juventus, saying, "Oh, we don't want this crook at our club." Well, for the one window he was there, we had a decent window, to be fair. And look, I understand last summer we had to do a lot of players had to leave the club. I get that. But you always got to balance it with people coming in. And we didn't balance it with coming in. And then you got Ange who comes in who, through no fault of his own, has now found himself in the worst injury crisis we've seen than I can remember. And that's a long time. And I think my faith for him went yesterday when he went for a back three. And I hope this shuts this argument up of us playing a back three. Because
it's something that many fans wanted to see, though, right? You do YouTube. Well, many fans have stated they wanted to see it, that the squad suited to it. How do you think that's
I did. Yeah, I did my predicted lineup, and I did it as more of a joke than anything. That look, Ange's going.
Oh, so you're about to berate the people that you were one of?
No, yeah, and look, I can berate myself, but I did it more of a joke, thinking Ange will never change, right? But I think it proves the point that it doesn't work. It would never work. Look, I'll berate myself. I'm included in that. I wanted Ange to do something different too, and I called it yesterday a desperate move for a desperate manager, and that's what it was. And you don't go 3-0 down to Everton. Everton haven't won all season hardly. They haven't scored in the last 3 games. I don't know. Okay, here comes Tottenham. Oh, let's score 3. The first goal was a joke. I mean, he did. Calvert-Lewin did his own Ricky Villa around the Tottenham defence, like. But look, the man to blame is Daniel Levy. Buck stops with him. You could have Moses, Jesus Christ, and God, the Holy Trinity, in managing that football club, and all 3 of them will probably get the sack. It's down. Daniel Levy's the problem. Until he goes, we will never get our football club back. We don't have a football club. It's an entertainment facility. The cockerel is just an emblem for him. The football club's dead, and it's been dead for a while. It's in the corner, and I do you remember the AC Milan? I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
Dermot, just quickly, I just want to throw this at you from Shawnee Mannix. He says we put on the worst version of a back three. Does that mean a back three can never work? But it wasn't the right decision for this game. Now, bear in mind, we had evidence on the Conte it wasn't working, and if fans are asking for him to change it, he was always going to put it out there without having too much work on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It never will work because 3-5-2. It didn't work under Conte. Why is it going to work now? Seriously, why is it going to work now? It's not going to work. I just don't understand that they want Ange to change. Why should Ange change? He only changed yesterday because he had to. We got 12 fit players. That's it. So, but that's down to the club again. That's down to the owners not backing the manager. That's not down to him coming in. That you want players. Okay, who do you want? Man United. Right. The Glazers. I mean, I talked to Colin. He's a Man United fan. They back every manager that comes into that club. All right, they're not been successful like they were under Fergie, but they back them with players. They spend big money. When have we ever spent big money? We wasted the Kane money like we wasted the money with Bale's money. We did exactly the same thing we did again. And can you name me one?
Wasted that money though?
No, not really. Can you name me one player at the Kane money we spent who's decent?
Well, I said it. We weren't going.
I think if you look at the money that was immediately spent after Kane, I think it's specific. I mean, you can't put it down to specific, ones, but it'd be more likely Brennan Johnson, Madison. You know, that's a huge chunk of it. That's a huge chunk of it.
A massive chunk of it.
Whatever else. I guess we bought that window, which is I'm trying to come to. I mean, Mickey Van de Ven might have been from that season as well. So maybe you look at Mickey Van de Ven as being a brilliant one, Vicario, but then by that point, you're already kind of over the Harry Kane fee, and you're kind of dipping into the regular budget, which is in and around some sort of figure close to 100 million, I think.
I feel now how I felt after that AC Milan game when the Champions League. I left yesterday with that feeling of, all right, I'll do my channel. I'll enjoy doing that, but I'm not going to let Spurs ruin my mood or invest in it because until Daniel Levy leaves the club, we're not going to go anywhere. And everyone has their watershed moments. Some people had it with Martin Yole being sacked at half-time. Some people had it with Poch. Mine was yesterday. And it just dawned on me. It just dawned on me. And I very condone the abuse Sonny got and actually Ange gets as well from our fans. It's embarrassing. I know Chris said he sort of doesn't mind Ange should take it. I sort of get that, but no human being should have the abuse that was chucked at them players yesterday. I get it. Some of them deserve it. I do understand that. And I understand it's our club, and I get that too. But I was absolutely disgusted. And my heart went up to Sonny. My heart broke for him. You don't treat a man like that. He's a legend. He's a kind-hearted human being. And we treated him with the utmost disrespect yesterday. If I was there, I said it to Jack in the background. If I was there, I wouldn't have even clumped the fella that said that. Seriously, I would have done. Because you do not disrespect a gentle human being like Sonny is. And I really went out from yesterday. I felt so sorry for him.
On that, look, I think, someone like Son, for what he's done for this football club, deserves a lot more respect than that, obviously. But I'm going to pose a question. How are fans supposed to vent their frustrations? Because no matter what way they do it, they're told they're wrong. I remember they booed Davinson Sanchez last year, just the sound, which is a booing sound, and everyone said, you can't do that, it's wrong, etc. But, these are the performances that we are receiving week in, week out, which fans see as wrong. So how are they supposed to vent their frustrations then? Because at some point, it's going to bubble over. If they ain't performing, it's going to bubble over like it did yesterday. Yeah, look, it's going to happen. I get that. It's human nature. I get it. But I condone it. I think it's wrong. I think it shouldn't happen, but it's human nature, isn't it? You're going to get angry. You spend good money. You've got a lot of money going in a day out. I get it. I do get it. But I just think you can criticize people in different ways instead of calling them what you call them. And some of it was near the knuckle like. Okay. And you're thinking, hang on a minute. The players are right to be criticized. They're paid millions. We have a right to criticism. We're fans. We're the football club. Forget Daniel Levy. Forget who owns the club. They're only custodian. We're Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We own the club. But there's ways and means of doing it. And maybe that's just the way I feel. Maybe it's just the way I would do it differently. Not everyone's like me. Everyone's different. And I suppose everyone is different when they're angry or watch the performance like that yesterday. And I'm sure that gentleman, when he wakes up this morning, probably is horrified by what he said. I think he's more horrified by what he's seen. You can only imagine that he's been to every game this season. That's the shit he has to put up with. I get it. And it's not good enough. But we can argue to all blue in the face. The problem's Levy. It's not managers. We've been saying this for years, you and me, Nelly, and Jack, that it's not the managers. It wasn't Conte. It wasn't Mourinho. We all wanted Poch out. Poch went. We got Mourinho out. We all wanted Mourinho out. Got him out. We want somebody different. Nuno in. Nuno wasn't good. We got Nuno out after 10 games. He wasn't good. Conte come in. We wanted Conte out. Too boring. Now we've got Ange in. Great first 10 games last season. Finished 5th. Right, let's build in this. Build on what? Because the owners weren't building it. They're an investment company. That's what they do. Daniel Levy needs to go. And maybe yesterday's my watershed moment. And maybe my club's dead. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is dead. Tottenham Hotspur Entertainment Facility is very much alive. But look, all we can do is support the team, support the players, support the manager, and keep doing what we're doing, because without us, there is no club. So we have to fight the good fight. So we keep going. And there will be light at the end of the tunnel. We will all get through this. And we'll do that by starting to boo people. Let them know our frustrations. That's what we're going to do. But Dermot, we do have to move on, my man. I know, man. Sorry. We've got a full back end. So I do really appreciate your time this evening, my man. People, get over, check out THFC Till I Die. Dermot will speak again soon, my man. Yeah, you too. Come on, you Spurs. And we will have a good night, Dermot. There is light at the end of the tunnel. See you, brother. Although it is fading, it's getting fading, and it's even more in the distance than usual. But big up, Dermot. Great call. As always, like I said, guys, please get over and check out the channel. But look, we'll keep this moving. Got plenty of guests here in the back end to get through this evening that want to have a conversation. The next one in is Rhino, I believe. Let me just double check the list. It is Rhino. Let's bring him in. Let's hear what he has to say. Rhino, you should be a happy man. You know, you said last Monday you wanted to lose these games so Ange will be sacked. So you should be a happy man we lost.
Yeah, do you know what? It's funny because I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm absolutely flaming furious, Davo. Because when I expected to lose, all right, the Arsenal game, I can understand losing the way that we did. But I wasn't expecting that sort of performance at the end of it. I really wasn't. But
you expected us to lose.
Yeah, but I want to see a good performance, but lose, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
That really does. But
still, right? Look, at the end of the day, when Levy goes, I'm having a when Levy goes, when Ange leaves, I'm having a party. When Levy leaves, I'm having a party. Then I can probably start supporting this club again because, right? I was literally sitting here, yeah, right, watching this game, and I was well, I wasn't even interested. I was sitting here on my phone playing games.
Let me.
What do you think Oh yeah, you go first, Dave.
Go on.
I was just gonna say, what do you think the club are waiting for, Rhino? Why haven't they sacked Ange? Like, why also haven't they brought in players at the same time? They're kind of just in this purgatory limbo type of thing where they're doing neither.
First of all, Jacko, right? I do not know why Ange hasn't gone. His points per game ratio now is 1.09. It is even worse. It's getting worse week on week. So I can't see. And do you know what, right? It's funny
try and put yourself in Levy's shoes. I know you hate him, right? But just try. For me, just try and put yourself in his shoes. If you're Daniel Levy, what's making you keep Postecoglou in a job?
I can't, Dave, because that just make me. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't do that. You're asking me to literally pray to Satan otherwise.
I'll pose a different question to you right now. So you said your manager out and your Levy out. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if we get in a new manager and still have the current same current ownership, do you think things will get any better? Do you think we will see an improvement?
Do you know what? I would have. First of all, right. There's two parts to this, right? Who would I want in as our next manager? Well, first of all, on a temporary basis, I'm only going on a temporary basis at the moment. I'm going to literally turn around and say, well, have someone like Ryan Mason in or Harry Redknapp even back. I wouldn't care. One of them two in. I mean, they can't do any worse than what we've already seen this year anyway. So either one of those two.
Well, it's the big thing about Postecoglou, his experience at this level, but yet then in the same breath you're saying throw Ryan Mason in, who's even less experienced than Postecoglou, especially in a situation like this. So is that really the right solution? Maybe Harry Redknapp I could probably get on board with, but not Ryan Mason. He's even less experienced.
Yeah, but it's a poison chalice, isn't it? Now, really, when you look at it, because Levy's not going to sign anybody. I can't see him signing anybody else now. I really can't.
Is that down to Levy or Johan Lang's inability?
I just think, do you know what? I just want, to be honest, right, at the moment, the way I'm looking at it, right, I just want everyone out at the moment. Everyone. I've got to the point that I sit here, right, have like the TV on and just watching it in the background whilst I'm sitting on my phone. It's that bad. I've lost all interest watching it week in, week out.
Rhino, can you kind of see where maybe
it's not that bad, Jacko, right? That I'm not even celebrating when goals go in anymore.
Well, because you probably know that another one's going to go into our net, pretty soon. But Rhino, can you see where maybe some people who are Ange defenders or Ange fans have actually started to turn on him after this last game because he decided to go with that back three sort of formation change, shape change, and to plenty of us, it just screamed of sort of desperation or just a guy that maybe isn't really believing in his methods anymore. Like, Did you sort of see that? Like, did you understand why he went for a back three? I mean, plenty of people wanted him to adapt, but then when he did adapt, we got pumped 3-0 by halftime.
It just shows everything that what Ange is made of. He's made, a wet toilet paper is the best way that I can kind of describe it without actually going too over the top. But yeah, wet toilet paper. That's what his mentality is. And the thing that really has annoyed me, throughout the whole of his reign is hands in his pockets, hands folded like that. I'm not even giving two flying monkeys. I'm looking around all over the place. Like, it's ridiculous. It's no way.
Does it stink of a guy to you that maybe he's just waiting for the sack? Maybe he's resigned. He ain't getting out of this. He's just waiting for Daniel to leave to pay up.
See, the only thing I could say to Ange right now is you've ruined your reputation, right? And you've done it. You've done a brilliant job. It's like, how do I put it? It's like having a bomb going off in the middle of the pitch, basically. Literally, that's what it feels like. Because every time we take to the field, that's what it feels like. Because we just crumble from the minute we get out on the pitch. And going back onto that Ryan Mason situation, right? And I get where you came with that, Davo. But it's got to the point where even Ryan Mason could still do a better job, even at where we are. Because look, we've got players, right? Hang on, Davo, right? I know you're thinking, what am I saying here, right? But we've got the players, right, who can actually do a good job, but just under someone different. Ryan Mason, right? I would rather, see for the next, God knows the last 16 games of the season, I'd rather sit back and play defensive football. I really couldn't care. Grind those wins. I'm all about winning. I don't care how we get those wins.
So now we're back in the realms of defensive football when we change three managers out for playing that way. Okay. See, this is where I get confused as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And surely you have to understand why I get confused. You know what I mean? That, I know all of a sudden we want to go back to what we tried already and didn't work and stuff like that. Surely you understand why I get confused. But look, when it comes to Mason, look, the guy is so vastly inexperienced to take over a club that he's trying to stave off a relegation battle, still trying to compete in Europe, got a cup semi-final coming up and still in the FA Cup. Even if they sack Postecoglou, he should be nowhere near that job. It stinks of a lack of ambition if he ends up getting that job after Ange Postecoglou. Look, to be honest with you, I think many Spurs fans would be shocked when the next manager comes in the door that these players maybe aren't at the level or don't fight the way many Spurs fans are maybe predicting. But look, it doesn't mean we shouldn't change manager and roll the dice. I'm at the point now I can't take losing right now. I think, I would bring in a manager, even if I just believe it's for a manager bounce and that's all we're going to get out of it right now. I'd bloody take that in the Premier League. But Rhino, it's been a great conversation with you this evening, my man. I really appreciate it, actually.
Just before we go, actually, Dave, I just want to ask Jacko.
Yeah, go on.
Oh. Go on, Jacko. You know what I'm going to ask you.
You still happy clapping?
Talk to me after Thursday, Rhino. We'll see you next Monday. Not happy clapping now.
Right. Yeah. So, go on, David, you were saying, sorry, mate, before
I was going to say, Rhino, we better keep this going, my man. We got plenty more to get through, so I appreciate your time this evening. Look, great conversation, my man. Very well put together, and we'll speak again soon, all right?
All right, mate. Yeah.
Have a good one, Rhino.
Have a good one.
I'm an absolute legend. And really appreciate all the support on Tifo as well, Rhino. You're top man. Very, very top man. Me and Rhino have these conversations, it feels like, on a daily basis now about, Tottenham Hotspur. It's good therapy, actually. It's good therapy. Shawnee Manick says, but your title says that.
Yeah, that's touche, Sean. Touche.
What We have Jerome. Just quickly, DB says, hold back, guys. Rhino needs to have his say whether we agree or not as a community important to support him. No, 100%. Look, I've always supported Rhino to that degree. But, I do, part of the 10 minutes is to have a bit of back and forth and stuff like that as well, DB, 100%. But big up, DB. Yeah, fair point. Absolutely fair point. Daniel Larson, he says, I just want competent football. We've got Jerome in the house. How are we going to win under Ryan Mason when there are no players fit, an inexperienced coach still learning to get his badge? Look, to be fair to Ryan, he's not the first one that maybe I've heard mention Ryan Mason, but I do think this is most of Spurs fans' worst nightmare coming to reality, that Ryan Mason is once again, for the third time in 4 or 5 years being rolled into this position. In years gone by, it was a bit different because Tottenham weren't in a relegation battle, so you could sort of come in, it's a free hit. You weren't going to fall too much further down the league, whereas this situation is vastly different. And I just think it's the wrong situation to be throwing someone like Ryan Mason in there, to be quite frank with you, Jerome. Jack, anything you want to say to Jerome?
Ryan Mason, the reason I don't necessarily trust him is that I do feel like he had an opportunity after getting his little stint with us. I think he had an opportunity, if he really wanted to be a serious coach, if he really wanted to be like an actual achiever in that department. No shame on him if he doesn't really want to go down that pathway in his career. But he had opportunities to go abroad, had opportunities to take on, sort of clubs that I think would have been really great opportunities for him if he wanted to develop his craft. But then he decided to go against those and just sort of hang around Spurs and be given whatever role he basically has, which is like permanent assistant manager, permanent assistant coach, or whatever you want to call it. The glorified, a permanent Jason Tyndall that we just sort of have around at the club that's just being assigned to every single managerial coaching staff. And the fact that he's basically rejected those opportunities abroad to really develop his coaching career and has decided to just stick around here and just be this guy that just sort of hangs around. I mean, he seems like a really good guy, really good person, but I then sort of question his career motivation, basically. And so we need people around the club that are like obviously winners, people that want to, be the very best in their craft, the very best in their career. And Mason just isn't that. He just isn't, because he's rejected opportunities to do that.
Shawnee Mannix then follows up and says, Jack, why is he here then if he doesn't want to be a proper coach?
Exactly. That's my point. So we should be getting rid of him. So we should. Like,
if you're Spurs and you're a Spurs fan, why wouldn't you accept whatever role they give you? Let's be brutally honest.
So when people saying just get Mason,
he's a good enough coach? No, it doesn't.
When people saying get Mason, and that's what I sort of, I laugh at it because it's kind of funny when people bring up the memes of it, but I really don't think almost anybody else, in my opinion, to bring in, even if it had to be emergency. Just because Mason, I just don't necessarily trust Sean, because why on earth is he being kept around when he clearly has shown no motivation to really develop his coaching career? So definitely shouldn't have him around. Just being that sort of guy, it just seems wrong.
Look, if you're a Spurs fan, which Mason is, he came through the academy and that, you're going to take whatever job Spurs give you. But
like I said, he seems like a great guy, nice guy.
Look, he seems like a great guy, but that's not what we're trying to run here. We're trying to run an elite level sporting organization, gearing up to win things. You've got to try and bring the best in class, and this is another reason why, again, it's all these problems that, it all comes to why we don't win anything. We're happy to accept mediocrity. We're happy to go, he's a Spurs fan, leave him in there. He's a good lad. Good lads don't fucking win you anything. They do not win you anything. But big up, Jerome. Absolutely great conversation there on that, my man. And then we also have Artist T. He says, with a current form, we may not even win a game until April 5th. If you look at the upcoming fixtures, it'll only get uglier. Well, I mean, look, we've got Leicester, which are hoping we can win. After that, Brentford away, not going to be easy. Man United at home, again, they're fighting for points. Man City, Ipswich Town, Bournemouth, Fulham. Look, we do really need an upturn of form, heading into the 5th of April, to be honest with you. Even the ones after the 5th, Wolves, Forest, West Ham, Liverpool, it doesn't get any easier there. But we do have to start taking points off the likes of Brentford's, Fulham's and stuff like that and clawing ourselves up the table, Artist T. But look, if we don't bring in signings, because right now they're going off, we get the injuries back. but we get 2 back, we lose 4. We're losing more than what we're getting back at this point. So when are we even going to get them all back? We really need to make signings, and if we don't, we're absolutely doomed. Artist T, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate the support. Jack, and you want to say it, Artist?
I felt like the Everton game. I was in agreement with Dave. The Everton game and also the North London derby, to a degree, maybe Tamworth as well, even though I wanted to ignore the Tamworth game, maybe out of delusion and happy clappingness. But these last few games have felt like the real litmus test isn't the right word maybe for it, but just the real markers of like, okay, like, can things turn around here? Can we start to see maybe a semblance of performances again and just quality? But I think we've almost looked worse each game. We look like we don't even know how to play with each other, like we don't even know each other's names type of thing, each passing game artistry. So I think the whole idea of upcoming fixtures, it getting uglier, it kind of feels like we're starting to reach the basement, kind of levels. I don't even know how much uglier it can get. It feels like we're reaching the basement.
Big up, Artist Team, my man. Really appreciate support. Big up, Scotty Hynam. Good to see you coming in the house as well. And we got this from DB. Would Mason's record in the next games be better or worse than Ange's last 10 games? Albeit it wouldn't be him. It would be Ange number 2. Look, to be honest with you, DB, it's not even a conversation I want to enter. Like I said, if he ends up back in the dugout, it screams a lack of ambition. It screams poor planning. It screams like a club that doesn't know what to do. And it also screams that they can't get another manager in. Nobody wants to touch this football club. That it is become a bit of a poison chalice where you can't really find any manager's work of sort. So I would argue it says more about Tottenham Hotspur as a football club than anything else. But do I think Mason will get better out of this situation? Hell no. We've still got injuries. The players are still going to be fatigued. He's still going to walk into the same situation Ange Postecoglou is in right now. And to be honest with you, he's so vastly inexperienced compared to Ange Postecoglou. If Postecoglou's struggling to handle the situation, Conte struggled to handle the injury situation last season, what hope have we got of Ryan Mason trying to handle the injury situation? The thing is, when Ryan Mason has come in before, it's been towards the end of the season where the only thing is we can't qualify for top 4, but he's had a free hit over a few games. Anyone can go and play well at that point and make Mason look good. But in this situation where we are as a Tottenham, I could tell you now, if he does get that job, if we do sack and put Mason in, watch this club get relegated. He will relegate this football club, DB. So I hope it's not Ryan Mason. Big up, Dennis, as well. Good to see you. Convo, Newcastle United FC. Good to see you as well. Chris as well. Great to see you, along with Niran as well. Good to see you, and Mick as well. But look, let's keep it moving. We've got more guests.
We have Adrian next, and then Michael after that from Poland. I'll preface this with Adrian. I think he feels very differently, Dave. I think he's in strong support of us being patient with Ange Postecoglou. So, but I also don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm sure he might want to correct some of that.
Look, let's hear it out. I was of a similar opinion until that Everton game. That Everton game has really really irked me and pissed me off. But look, let's bring on Adrian. Let's hear what he has to say. I like this guy. He's a very cool, calm, and collected customer. Adrian, how are you, sir?
Yeah, how you doing? You're all right. Yeah. I agree with you. It was a rubbish. Yeah, it was a rubbish game. The Everton game yesterday. It was a shit show. But we got to realise what Ange got to deal with at the moment. He's got a lot on his plate to deal with all the injured players. Yeah. He hasn't got the support there from the top management. It's easy to blame the manager every single time, but I think we need to look over the last 4 years on this. I mean, we've had this going for, let's go from Poch to Mourinho. Mourinho got us to a cup final, but then got sacked. It's always, we've got to understand that this time of year that you're going to get a lot more injuries. It's cold out there. It's going to be a lot of hamstring injuries, but we have it all through the years. So we need to re-advise from the top down to find where this problem is. And the person that should be taking the stick is Levy, because it's his job to find out where the weak areas are in the actual club itself. I mean, let's take, for instance, do we need a better medical staff? Do we need a better physio to support Ange in his style of football? You need to concentrate on all these different areas. It's one of those things that, as being in business, you've got to start going from the top to the bottom and find out where's that in between that is that problem. And you've got to start sifting through each department to find that problem out.
Do you know what it is, Adrian, on a lot of that? I actually agree with you. And I think, you probably would have heard me say stuff, in defense of Ange Postecoglou. I'd even go as far as he's the first one to deal without having Kane and Son carrying them on the score sheet and stuff like that. There's a lot of problems that we have mismanaged that has left Ange Postecoglou to this point. You could probably go through 5, 6, 7 problems that have all compiled on itself to get us to this point. And I sort of agree with you. Like, I believe changing manager ain't really going to make a difference. You might see a difference for the first 5, 10 games. After that, it'll just go back to the way it's always been the last few years. But I'm sort of at the point where I'm panicking, though, Adrian. It's like, I don't want this club to be relegated. We can't afford for it to really get relegated. We would struggle to get out of the championship if we go down there. We really will struggle. So for me, I'm starting to panic. Why do you think I need to hold fire? Why do you think, and also, why do you think the club are willing to sit there and hold fire on Ange Postecoglou?
Well, we've seen it all before. We've had these managers come in and out. We're not. It's not solving any problems. If we take him out now, I tell you now, we're going to be behind another 2 to 3 years to get where we really want to be. And I just think sometimes it doesn't matter what you do in life, there is going to be a bad period in your life. And it's just have to recoup, get everything together, and then go for it again. Maybe it's not we know we're not going to get the top 4. I think we have to be honest on that. Yeah. But hopefully we'll get into the top 10. We'll go start getting players back again, like VDV, Romero should be coming in soon. Hopefully before the Liverpool second leg game. And that's another thing we have to take into consideration. We've got a cup game coming on. Do we want the same scenario as when Mourinho coming up so he could try to show that he could have done it? I mean, we've got to ask these serious questions. And it's so easy to go, oh, Ange out. I mean, it's not the point. You need to have that little bit of patience, people. It is frustrating. I know we all go on results, but the stats are still there. If you look in the stats, he has got the stats going. And
you need to send me what stats you're looking at, Adrian. I'm looking at all the wrong ones, my man.
The stats were, they are showing how the progressiveness of the attacking football is. And we all love this attacking football. And we should still appreciate this attacking football. Do you know what really pissed me off? Sorry, I don't mean to swear. But
no, work away, lad. Work away.
I mean,
I'm just going to grab a drink. I can still hear you. My fridge is beside me.
Yeah, sure.
For convenience, so I think I can still hear you.
But really, what really pissed me off, you remember, like, a couple of months ago, all through the games, everybody's going, oh, yeah, we had to be a bit more defensive. Well, we have to do this. And he does it. And then people criticise him for doing it. And, it's damned if you do, and it's damned if you don't. And, we've seen it now. And like Dermot said, we have seen it. It doesn't work. And so that's the reason why he most probably didn't introduce it in the first place. But the problem is we are dying because we've got so many injuries out there, and we've only got the 12 men left in the actual squad itself. They're all tired. I mean, this is winter time. This is where Levy's got to say, I've got to really put my hands in the pocket and get some more other players in, because we can't sustain being in this situation at the moment. But we all know what Levy's like. He always leaves it to the last minute usually, because he knows he can get the better deal. He's a businessman at the end of the day, and he will leave it. I think we might get 1 or maybe 2, and that's being optimistic, but I'm pretty sure we'll get another 1 in.
Are you a little perplexed by the fact that he just hasn't brought in any players, though, for Ange? Because we're getting all these news that they're supposed to be backing Ange, but they really haven't done anything to the fact to really support that, right? That's where I'm a little confused, Adrian. It's like we're in a limbo or something.
The last 4 years, I've seen it. Levy always leaves it to the last minute. He is the businessman because if you go in straight in the beginning, they're asking for the top bucks. He is always the one that will leave it to the last minute to see what the prices will come down in, and that's Levy, the businessman, and that's the.
Your brother in the background of your dad.
Yeah.
What have they got to say?
Yeah. I think he pretty much agrees. But I mean, he's very disappointed with the team itself. Yes.
Just on leaving it to the end of the window, though, is he not really adding to the problem then, Adrian? Because especially coming into this January, like last January, to be fair, with all the injuries and stuff like that, there was real urgency, and I think you almost have to expect that you're going to have to pay a bit extra. And I think this is where people question Levy's mentality and him wanting to win, because most Germans that want to win, they will pay that extra, realizing that you've got cup games, you need to put league points on the board, but we're willing to sacrifice points to save a couple of £1 million.
Yeah, I totally agree. But that's how Levy does his business. He does it on there. But this is the problem that's been holding us back. I mean, he doesn't find anything adventurous by getting like the top. He rather go with a brand new vehicle than rather go with a top variety, and that's been proven itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the way he conducts business, unfortunately, and this is where it's no good for us. I mean, for now, we should be looking at somebody. I mean, I'm not going to get into this Rashford debate or any other footballers debate, but we should be looking for the ones that are more experienced at the moment, just to get us through this bad period that we need. And even if it's a loan, I'll be happy for a loan, because Ange is really suffering out there, and I really do feel sorry for him. I mean, having 12 men at the moment, it must be a nightmare for him. I know he has attacking football and there will be injuries, but then I'm thinking, well, we need to look at the medical or the physio staff. Are they doing the job? Can they get them back into? I mean, I'm no medical expert. Are they using? Oh, I know my medical background. But then, Manchester City and United is. They managed to sort it out. I mean, it's quite sad when I go, because I do look at other football podcasts and that. I mean, there's a young lady out on the Manchester United who's more of a supporter of Spurs at the moment.
Yeah.
And she's coming over with really good information. We've got the team there. We need to realise we've got the team. We have got the manager. The Sable, what we haven't got is the players that need to be there for Ange, because he's got nothing to play on. I mean, it's like me driving a bus with only 3 wheels. You know what I mean?
Fair point.
I mean, he's only 1 wheel away. He'll be dragging the bus behind, and it'll be like sparks coming out the back of the bus. Soon
you might see him on your bus to go into the job centre. You never know. Look, what I want to ask you is, because a lot of what you said here tonight, I sort of agree with you in terms of defence of Ange Postecoglou. It's just, I think the only difference between me and you is just I've had my, I don't want to see us lose any more games. I'm fed up with it, And look, no doubt you are, but fair play to you. You're willing to show a lot more patience, than me. Mine is just done. But I think the biggest metric around sacking a manager, to a degree, is, are the squad still playing for him? When you look at that, do you still think they're playing for him? Because some would argue the last 3 performances, Tamworth was shocking. Arsenal, North London derby, no fight, no bottle into a North London derby. And then you look at the Everton game, the way we started off that, passive, slow, it did look like some of the players were just going through the motions, Adrian.
I totally agree. But the problem is that Ange hasn't got the players to take these players off. They're tired. Again, it all comes back to Levy not producing the players out there. It needs to make sure Levy needs to make sure he puts his on. And can I just point out? Can you imagine all that 4 managers we've had since after Poch, or even Poch, including Poch himself? You've got Mourinho, Conte, on Nino Espirito. Look at Nino Espirito at the moment with Nottingham Forest. So all you're going to do is give another club an advantage to take somebody like Ange and make the team. And then we'll be coming back here again and moaning the fact, so why couldn't he do it at this club? Because I'll tell you the reason why he can't do it at this club is because of the people at the top, like Levy and Inick. They need to really seriously either to sell the club or start to run this football club properly.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with that, because I don't think Jose is a bad manager. I don't think Conte is a bad manager, and I don't think Postecoglou is a bad manager. I did think Nuno was a bad manager, but time has proved me wrong on that one. But the reality is, they've all gone on to do better after Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur is the anomaly on their CV, and it's going to be the same with Ange Postecoglou. I don't think Postecoglou is a bad manager. I just think, again, we've messed it up underneath another manager. But before we let you go, Adrian, Moondog says, sorry, but we have gone backwards, Adrian. We ain't Bournemouth got 9 injuries and a smaller squad. What he's saying is Iriol is dealing with it better, but the caveat that we're playing double the amount of games than Bournemouth are.
Yeah, I totally appreciate it. I mean, but the problem is we don't know what's going in the background in their house. We don't know. They might have a really pucker medical staff, you know. We should be looking at, you know, like I say, looking at the department, you know, maybe they've got better physios, you know. We need to have a good clear out on the top of the club and start finding the areas where it's very weak and it's not helping the manager whatsoever. I'm not going to blame just the medical or physical. It could be coaching staff.
I thought they were supposed to do this years ago when they had this internal investigation from top to bottom, this inquiry, you know, and they didn't have one a couple of years ago in the Paratici. I thought they're supposed to fix, you know, identify all the problems and fix them then.
Yeah, but I don't think it never materialised, did it? Dave, did it? I mean, sometimes companies say this, but they don't actually go and follow through with it. You know, sometimes it's just words and bluster, and you know that's what it comes down to. It's never going to be solved unless we solve the people at the top and start literally combing through what's going on at the top, because we need to support our managers. So I mean that's what we got to do at the end of the day. So.
No, look, you know what, I fully agree with you. I actually don't disagree with anything you've come on to say there, you know, this evening, to be fair, Adrian. I definitely do not. Well, Adrian, big yourself up, my man. And
good
you know
calling.
what? It's nice to hear, you know, a difference of opinion, you know, rather than Ange out, which I'm sure we're going to get back to now after you're gone. So I really appreciate that, Adrian. Keep calling in. Like I said, it's a pleasure having you on, my man. I'm glad that we've met each other. And by the way, myself and Jack will all be over there in May for the Palace game. So if you're around, it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, I'm going to try because I noticed it on there, guys. So I'm definitely going to try and get around to the Palace game. So even if I have to go in the pub if I don't get a ticket, but I'm sure I'll get a ticket somewhere on mine.
Nah, I'm sure you look. You know, with the way Tottenham's going right now, you know they can't sell out. I'm sure you definitely get one.
But we need to start thinking, most probably, how we're going to get Levy out of the club, and we might have to play something very strategic. I mean, the only thing that Levy listens to is money, unfortunately, and you'll have to sort of like, you know, damage his bank book.
Crowd fundraiser.
To get him to do it. Yeah, definitely.
There you are.
Well, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrian.
All the best now. Come on,
thank you,
Spurs.
sir.
Big up for everybody.
Have a good evening.
Okay, and
come on, you Spurs.
See you later. It's all the best now.
See you, Adrian.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
What a call in from Adrian. Very refreshing to hear a different point of view. And you know what? The thing is, I actually agree with a lot of what he said. Like I said, I think the only difference is that the last 3 games have really done my nutting. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's the only difference. But big up, Adrian. Absolutely great call. And big up, Moondog. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Moondog.
Kenneth, Tottenham Hotspur. How do you call him, my man? Well, look, you know, usually, you know, a lot of people have the fan show memberships and that. But you know, if you do want to come on and have your say, send me an email. I'll drop you the link. We'll get you in at the end for a couple of minutes and we'll hear what you have to say. Kenneth, Tottenham Hotspur. Big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate support. He's been around this channel for a long, long time. So you're more than welcome, my man. Just drop me the email and we'll sort something out with you.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah, normally it's just there in the community section for people who have visibility of it, who are the fan show members. But yeah, like Dave explained it perfectly. But after Adrian, we have another good one. We have Michael.
Oh, Mihal. Irish for Michael. Let's bring him on. Let's hear what he has to say. Big Mick, how are you keeping, lad?
Big up, lad. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, sorry for being so late, but I
don't apologize.
You know, we had a long trip today with the girlfriend. Then we had the workout. Then, you know, I had to prepare dinner, you know, do some laundry, which Jack could probably see me, like, you know, set up the laundry in the background. I don't know if you saw that, Jack, but I was doing the laundry.
Let my missus see that. Michael.
Yeah. Recently, I've been a bit of a housewife, so, you know.
Proud Michael, I mean, you probably then had a lot of time to think about Spurs. Take it away, sir. I mean, What do you think is happening with Ange? Like, even the title right there, right? 5 points from 10 games, or from 30 possible points, in the last 10 Premier League games, only 5 points. Where do you go from here? Do you keep believing in Ange, or are you starting to turn? I think you were kind of already starting to lean Ange out last time we spoke.
Yeah, before I say anything on Ange, right, I have to premise, I have to make 2 points before I say anything about Ange, right? My first point is that the root cause of all issues at this club will always be Inic and Levy, right? I don't want, whatever I say about Ange, I don't want to stray away from that point. I think the root cause is always Levy and Inic, right? When I chose to support this club in 2018, right, I saw us challenge for the title twice. I saw us get into a Champions League final, right? And fair enough, maybe I didn't do my research enough, right? But I had a feeling as a foreign fan.
Do you regret it?
Yeah. Can I be honest with you? Sometimes it's not that I regret it, right? But honestly, as a foreign fan, all foreign fans are in a sense a bit of a glory hunter type, right? Because you don't support your clubs, or you don't support clubs at your own country, right? For some reason. For me, the Polish league is not competitive, right? I don't find enjoyment in watching us get our asses kicked in Europe, right? So I wanted to choose a club from England, right? I always had a soft spot towards the English league, right? Back in 2000s, from 2000 to 2010, I deemed myself a Liverpool supporter, right? The only reason why I said that was because Jerzy Dudek was a goalie when they won the Champions League final. This is one of the few games that I actually got to see, because we didn't really have broadcast of English teams, right? So I always said I'm a Liverpool supporter, even though I knew 4 players or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I had a soft spot for an English league, right? But coming back to my point, maybe I didn't do my research enough, right? But I always had a feeling that Spurs are a sleeping giant type of club, right? And I will stand by this opinion, right? I still think that this club has the financial potential to be one of the best out there, right? When you look at everything that's, every financial report, when you look at our club in general, right? We have a beautiful, beautiful stadium, which, by the way, I'm visiting in March for the first time. I had to get that in. Yeah, first time. Actually, Bournemouth at home. With reset form, I'm kind of dreading the game, right? I will talk about it.
You'll have a great day out, lad. Right? You'll have a great day out, regardless.
Yeah, but coming back, right? We have a beautiful stadium. We have a beautiful training ground, right? We finally, I feel like we sorted out the youth recruitment, right? We have amazing youth directors, right? We basically have everything that we have everything to just grab the opportunity and become one of the best clubs, right? And I will always say it: we choose not to. Our ownership chooses not to invest and chooses not to be the best club out there, right? And by best club out there, I don't mean that we have to win everything. We have to win the Premier League every single season. We have to, challenge for the Champions League. I don't mean that, right? But I think there is every possibility for this club to be respectable, for people to actually treat us with respect if we chose to be competitive, right? I just feel like we don't, right? This is the first thing that I will say, right? And the second, because I said I will make 2 points, right? The second point is based off what I just said, right? I will also stand by the fact that I don't think sacking managers fixes anything in the grand scheme of things, right? I don't think that if we sack Ange right now and the other guy comes in, whoever it is, I feel like we will have the same conversation in 18 months, right? It always happens with us, right? We had the same conversations under Conte, because I was already a supporter of your channel when we were under Conte, right? You had the same talks under Conte. He wasn't supported in the transfer window. He fell out with the ownership and the players, right? Everything went to shit, and we had to suffer through Mason, right? So based on that, right, I have to make those 2 points. But, right, I feel like I cannot absolve Ange from responsibility and criticism, right? This is how I approach looking at the games, right? Because I can criticize Levy all for the lack of transfer dealings. I can criticize him for the lack of ambition, right? Yeah. But still, Ange has a certain set of tools right? That he can use. And with those tools, he has to get the best out of those tools, right? I'm not expecting him to build me a $3 million mansion with a hammer, right? Because that's basically what it is, right? But I still feel like I personally predicted us to finish 6th at the beginning of the season, right? And I still stand by the fact that a fully fit, healthy Spurs squad, in my opinion, is around 6th place quality, right? And I felt like we could fight for that, right? But unfortunately, when I look at the results that we have, it is not only this season, but also a good chunk of last season, right? I just don't see us progressing under Ange. I just have a feeling that we had a really like an amazing and shocking manager bounce at the beginning of the season. I felt like the tactic that Ange employed at the beginning of the previous season was so out of the ordinary for an average Premier League manager, right? We were so attacking, we are so front-footed, right? That many managers didn't expect us to play that way, right? And I honestly felt like this period would be extended if not for that Chelsea game where we got those injuries, those red cards, suspensions, and all that stuff, right? It pretty much derailed our season, right? Yeah. The issue is that when Gary O'Neill does a PowerPoint presentation on national TV saying how to beat Tottenham, right? And you don't adapt and you don't change anything about the approach, right? Then, like, what's the point, right? Then, yes, Ange has... Right now, he doesn't even have a hammer. Like he only has like the screwdriver or something like that, right? We are down to bare bones. But I still don't feel like we can excuse us being 15th with injuries, right?
I agree with your progression point that you made earlier, Michael. Where I'm starting to get very concerned is he's made that huge change to the formation, which seems out of desperation to get a win. But also the past 3 games, I think we've looked worse almost each game. Like we look like we don't even know how to play with each other. We look like we can't even complete like a simple 1-2 or a simple combination. The players don't know where to move, where to stand. They also sometimes don't even look like they want to move for each other. It's just that sort of vibe of a team that is kind of clueless and is looking like they have no confidence, right? Or just don't know what they're doing anymore, which is on the manager, sadly.
I think it's a huge combination of many factors, right? I think, first of all, this team has to be drained on confidence purely based on the injuries, right? Those players know that they miss like half of the team, right? So that it plays on your mind, right? You know you are going into every single match with I don't want to say like a defeatist mentality, right? But they know they are up against it, right? And sometimes that pressure weighs on them, right? I don't want to, like, we have to understand that half of the team that we played yesterday was like under 23, I think, right? Yeah. Gray, Bergvall, Sarr, Spence, Kinski, right? And who
Mikey
else
Moore.
did we have? Mikey Moore, yeah. Like those are young kids. They don't have the experience. They don't have the grit and the experience, right, to go through this tough patch without help, right? And I just feel like they are not getting help from the manager, right? And especially this Everton game, right, guys? I kid you not, because I think I understand what Ange's system is. I think I do, right? I'm not 100% sure. I think I know what he wants to do. I feel like I know why he inverts both fullbacks, why he's so attacking. I don't necessarily agree with the approach, but I think I understand what he wants to do, right? But this Everton game, right? He changed the formation, and for the love of my life, I couldn't tell what the hell was going on that pitch, right? I couldn't tell which player plays where, right? Because they presented it as a back 3, right? And I think it was a back 3 for like 12 minutes until we conceded. Then I thought we changed it to a back 4 where Gray was playing right back and Porro was right wing. But Gray was often in front of like Porro, right? Kulusevski was inverting. Like Sarr and Bergvall looked completely lost in the 2-man midfield, right? I just felt like this was the game where, as you rightfully pointed out, Jack, I felt like, yes, of course, based on injuries, I felt like it was a desperation move to just fit, like to make something of it, right? But for the love of my life, I cannot understand why, if we have Dragusin and Davies, right, why do we still shoehorn Gray into a back 3 formation as a center back where apparently he is a midfielder, right? When I saw this team sheet, I thought we will play a 4-3-3 with Davies and Dragusin as center backs, Gray, Sar, and Bergvall as midfield, right? And I actually felt like this is like kind of of course, inexperienced young midfield, but it still like had a purpose, right? Gray is apparently a 6, right? Although we never saw him play there, right? Yeah. But he is supposed to be a 6, right? Pape Sarr is a box-to-box, and Bergvall looks like the most offensive option, right? And he could maybe fit the number 10 role, right? And I wasn't even against like playing Maddison on the left. He played there from time to time for Leicester, right? Both on both wings, right? So it's not optimal, but we don't have any other options. But I think it still was a better option than what we did against Everton, right? As I said, I for the love of my life, I couldn't understand what the hell was going on, right? And that first half was absolutely dog shit, right? Guys, I think I've seen somewhere that they scored a quarter of their home goals against us in that one match, right? They have like 12 goals,
Do
right?
you know what's
That's
funny
the
about
worst
that?
part.
Jack was joking to me the day before, saying, Everton fans predicting they're going to score 3 against us. That's like a third of their goals this season. It's a joke. And then, within 45 minutes, there you are. But look, with the setup yesterday, that's where I sort of lost faith in Ange Postecoglou. It's like, if you've lost faith in what you're asking them to do, how do you expect me to continue to have faith in that message then? You know what I mean? But Michael, absolutely great breakdown. We do got to keep it moving, man. We've got a lot of guests this evening. I don't know where we go from here, though, my man. I really don't. But what I will say to you is, regardless of the situation going on at Tottenham, please do enjoy yourself. Make sure you take in that stadium. I get everything going around Leahy, but if you want to go into the club shop and you want to get yourself a bit of merch, it's not like you're over there all the time. Make sure you go in and do it. Just enjoy your day, and hopefully Tottenham can get the result for your brother.
Yeah, actually, the reason why I'm going is I'm taking my brother for his 18th birthday. That's my present for him. So I organized.
Trying to get another one in the family to share your pain with.
Yeah. He kind of does already. I've always said that he's a Chelsea supporter, but I like with every passing day, I feel like he gets more and more into the Spurs camp. So
Spurs are more interesting.
Basically, yes. Like Spurs are more interesting, right? But I have to say, I don't like one quick thing I also have to mention, right? I don't know if he spoke after or before the North London derby, right? But I was vexed with that North London derby performance. I for the love of my life, I couldn't understand what our team presented on the pitch. I saw no fight, no passion, no aggression, like the famous rant, right? I would honestly appreciate it if one of our players just punched one of them in the face and got a red card. That would show me more passion and just care about the game. I was extremely disappointed, not only with Ange and the tactics, but also with the team themselves. And listen, moving on from here, I said that I'm sitting on the fence, kind of like 65% out, 35% in. I can't lie, I moved more towards the outside, right? And I honestly, I think that we came to a point where it's kind of like unsalvageable. That's how I feel like, right? Listen, guys, if we lose to Hoffenheim, right? Hoffenheim are in the relegation zone in the Bundesliga, right? They haven't won a game since November, right? So they are in a worse patch of form than us, right? Although there is a month break in Bundesliga, right? But you get the point, right? And then we play Leicester. If we don't win against Leicester, that has to be a nail in the coffin, in my opinion. And like I have to say, like I lost faith with Ange Postecoglou. And I honestly kind of also don't understand why so many fans are so in favor of him. What I mean by that, I know you want to move on. I quickly have to get this off my chest, right? I don't understand a bit why so many fans have such a belief in him. I don't feel like he has enough credit in the bank with our club to back him this much, right? He's not like Pochettino. If we had faith like this in Pochettino and Pochettino was going through this, I would be like, keep this man in the job, back him as much as you can, like do everything for him, right? He is the god of this club, right? This is one. And the second thing, I actually don't think that Ange Postecoglou's previous credentials like are good enough to warrant this sort of backing, right? As much as I respect him for winning the Scottish League, the Japanese League, the A-League and all that stuff, I don't think that's enough credit in the bank to have this much faith with him and to not like sometimes question him as a manager, right? I think I try to be balanced and I try to approach it from the side of like, you know, we have to ask questions of him, right? It's not like he's Pep Guardiola or it's not like he's Pochettino for us, right? I think you get my point, right?
No, 100%. And look, I get the point. I just think one factor that people maybe aren't factoring in is he is the only manager post Kane and Son era to really deal with that. And this is the reality of our football club. And I just wonder, is that playing a major sort of factor in why they're giving him a bit longer to maybe sort out than others? But Michael, absolutely great call in this evening, my man. Look, I don't disagree again with a lot of what you had to say here this evening. And look, like I said, make sure you enjoy that game at Bournemouth, all right?
Yeah, I will try my best. Big up, but
have a good evening, Michael. Have a good evening. But guys, Michael is right. Postecoglou is getting a lot more support and giving a lot more hope than maybe other managers have done. And I think the big question is why? Why are the board giving them a lot more hope, than what they have other managers? So I think it's a very pertinent question there from Michael. Big up, Michael. We've got Thomas in the house, says we need to support Ange. We don't support the club at all. We need to stay strong and believe in the future. Come on, you Spurs. Do you know what it is, Thomas? Like, the thing is, I agree with, a lot of what Adrian had to say in and around, the failure of the pro squad planning and stuff like that. It's just where I got a bit annoyed yesterday was he changed up what he's trying to get people to believe in, and I just think he's made a rod for his own back by doing that. I think now all of a sudden, whatever players you did have left on your side, I think they probably lose a bit of belief and hope in what you're asking them to do. But also, if you don't believe it, how do you expect me to continue to believe in it? And that's where I was a bit irked by yesterday. But also, the last three performances have been nowhere near good enough. Look, I've always said, managers are 10% of the problem at Tottenham Hotspur. When people are asking the guy to pivot, to be more flexible, it's like, this is the shit. Like, we keep getting every manager into this situation. When are we going to just give them a proper squad to work with? We all want trophies. Asking a manager to paper over Levy's cracks isn't sustainable going forward either. But it's with every result that's coming, with every performance, it's getting harder and harder. And it's getting to the point, Thomas, I turn to football for joy. I love this football club, but it's testing me, man. I'm watching football now, and it feels like it's a job rather than sitting there and having that enjoyment. And I just feel like we're at the same times where we were when Conte's tenure came to an end. Same to Jose Mourinho's. Look, if he can get it back up and running, if he can go and beat Everton, Leicester, and put the wheels back on and get a few more results, of course, I'll get straight back behind it. But right now, where I'm at, I just don't see how that's going to come, Thomas. So if you can shed any light on it from my man, and, give me some positivity, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Jack, anything you want to say to him? Oh, you're on mute, Jacko.
Apologies. I think you put that really well, to be fair, Dave. I've been a big backer of Ange. I only teetered one time, maybe around the Coventry City game, because I had a similar sort of belief to where I am now, where I was like, I don't know, it doesn't really look like things are headed in a very good direction here, despite how patient I've tried to be. And then he regained, sort of my confidence. He put in, a real shift of, maybe changing some of the personnel in the team, or just getting a real sort of, spunk out of the players that, we're just not seeing now. Like, at this point, it just feels like watching this team, they just look worse each passing week. And it's hard to tell whether that's due to tiredness, the injuries, or if it's just due to the team just starting to give up on him as well. And I saw some people suggest, like, oh, look at the fight back that they showed in the second half. To be honest, I don't know if I necessarily even saw, a ton of fight back, to get back in the second half. I think that was down to probably Everton probably taking their foot off the gas a little bit, but then also as well, just some good individual quality from some of our players that we don't really get enough of, individual quality, but we did sort of take whatever chances that we kind of ended up getting there and getting back into it. I'm just getting the sign of a team that's starting to give up on the manager. And when I'm seeing a team that doesn't even look like they know how to play with each other, these are starting to be big questions of Ange. And it's also the record, man. Like, 5 points from 10 matches is just, it's like, it is beyond relegation. It is relegation. It is just certified relegation form. And 10 games is a fourth of your season. It's a fourth of your season. It's a quarter of your season. It's not an insignificant amount. And you could look even further. I think there's another stat that someone said 9 wins in 9 months or something, in the Premier League. That's also just, it's no matter how much patience you want to have for the guy, it's sadly has to be a bit better than that, even though I really do believe in the guy, even though I really do believe in him. Yeah.
Big up, Thomas, my man. Really appreciate support.
Sorry.
Let's take a couple. No, really appreciate support, Thomas. I think Jack's sort of spot on there as well. Let's take a couple more comments, and then we've got 4 guests left. These will be the last 4 guests of the evening because your boy needs a bit of time before his dinner to get that loan watch updated for you guys, which I put a lot of time into. So hopefully you guys can tune in, and the whole idea is each week now I'm going to keep you updated on the progression of our loan players. So big up. We've got Ed Sweeten in the house. The only reason he's getting time is Levy sacked 3 managers in a row, very short tenures, then could only get his third choice getting Ange because many weren't sold on the project. Fair point. And there's not a lot of other choices out there. Joe says it was a one-off formation due to the available players on the day. Not sure it's a flip of philosophy. Do you know what? I can understand what you're saying, Joe. It's just for me, I just don't understand. I just think if he would have went with the 4 across the back, moved Archie Gray and played the 3 in midfield, went 4-3-3, I just think we could have beaten Everton. And that's where I got a little bit frustrated. It's just, I get maybe it is a once-off and stuff like that, but it just killed me. It killed me. Look, Jack knows I hate the 3 at the back formation, so that's probably a large part to do with it. Rob Michael says Spurs are still in 4 competitions and is winning at least 2 of them. Believe in Ange. He is a serial winner. Look, I don't doubt that Ange is a winner. He's won everywhere else he's been. You know what I mean? So, I fully concur with that. But so did Conte, Jose, and look at what happened to them at Tottenham Hotspur. The Big Cat says if the board is supporting Ange, where are the new players? 1 signing in 3 weeks. If talk was support, this board would be great. Absolutely spot on. Actions speak louder than words, and we're still waiting for the actions, my man. Big yourself up on that. The Big Cat. But look, let's keep it moving. Where are we next? We are on to Daniel. Daniel, are you there? Yes, he is. Let's bring him on. Good evening, Daniel. How are you, sir?
I'm always good, of course, but
what was your thoughts on yesterday, lad?
Thoughts? Oh my God, where do we start? We all gonna have a party when Ange gets sacked. When Ange gets sacked, get rid of this. I think he's the worst manager in the league. He's so useless. I don't know why people think he's good, by the way. And people need to get their head after, excuse my language, us, or because I've never seen a manager warrant this loyalty.
What's he done? I think I've seen you swing a couple of times, Daniel. Not saying that you've teetered.
Yeah, I've
too
said
much
myself I'm a flip flop, so don't. Then
you're just now you feel confident. You're like, yeah, I'm
tired. Now, of course,
Sorry.
I mean, we can talk about.
Can 2 things be true at once, though, Daniel? Can he be a good manager? Like I said, I just said there a minute ago. Jose Mourinho, Conte, great managers, but if you take them off what they've done at Tottenham, they'd look useless, this, that, and the other. So can 2 things be true at once? That Ange Postecoglou is a good manager, but it's just not working out at Tottenham.
No, I don't think so. I think you got that Celtic thing. But again, the Scottish League, Steven Gerrard went unbeaten with Rangers over there. Would you want Steven Gerrard? Is he good? No. Again, the Scottish League, we got a Norwegian manager was at Celtic before. He won the league with them, and he's useless. I don't even know. I don't think he's fucking working at this moment. So that's need to scratch right off because Celtic, I'm not having that, by the way. So for me, no.
Look, I understand what you're saying, but I think, if you're winning in Australia, you're winning in Japan, and you're winning in Celtic, and you're basically going across different countries and winning, and you're able to communicate with these players and stuff like that, I don't think it strikes me or stinks of a guy that is a bad manager. You clearly got to have it in you to be able to win. It doesn't really matter what levels are at. Yes, there's different levels, but I think Ange will be another one, that'll probably go on and win elsewhere or go on and do a stellar job. And we'll be in the next cycle with the next manager going, oh, fuck me, we've done it again. Anyway, go on, move on. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I want to say, and also the Everton, the formation switch. I think he just did it just to almost piss us off, prove us, look, now I changed it. Look what happens. How can you say he went out and said, oh my God, Gray, He's so amazing playing out of position. Well, now you had a chance to playing in his real position, and then you switch his position again to right centre back. And what happens? He had a really bad game. Sadly, now his confidence is fucked. By the way, so there you go. I don't understand this man. I honestly don't get this man.
I can understand that criticism of the Archie Gray thing. Sorry,
and also, also playing two midfielders, Sarr and Bergwall, as your two only midfielder. What is that? How are they going to control a midfield? They never could control a midfield. You know, they're not that. You know, I think, you know, they're great out there. Sarr is great on this day. Bergwall, I think, is going to be great. But right now, they couldn't control a midfield.
Yeah.
At Goodison Park, at least. I mean, what's his name? Gustafsson Gay, of all people, control that. Like the easiest game he has ever had. You know, so it's just a mess. It's a complete mess. And if we continue with this manager, it's only going like the Titanic down to the fucking bottom of the ocean. Sadly.
So you don't agree with someone like Adrian, where it's like, you know, you stick through it, you're going to come out the other side of it? Because the reality is, right, you know, the alternative is you change manager. But we've done that 3 or 4 times already. Has it got any better? Has it, though?
Well,
let's be brutally honest.
Yeah, but okay, I understand. But this guy, for me, you know, like I said, I just think he's not good. You know, that's the end of it. You look at Iriola at Bournemouth. Do you really think Ange could do what Iriola does at Bournemouth?
A lot different stuff, Daniel. And this is the thing, you know, it sounds all ideal, but there's got to be context brought to it. His players are playing once a week, which means they have 6 days in between games to be fresh. We're playing every 3 days. I caveat that. If Iriola walked into this situation at Tottenham that Ange is currently in, where your players are playing every 3 days, you can't really rest them, they're fatigued, etc., etc., would he have the same stats he has at Bournemouth? Or would he be another failed manager at Tottenham Hotspur? Because I can bet your bottom dollar he'll be another failed manager at Tottenham Hotspur if we're going off evidence previously. And second of all, do you think the club are really going to go to Bournemouth, or any club for that matter, and pay a transfer fee to get a manager out when our last 3 managers have all been out of contract?
He will never go now anyway. You know, that's, you know, the basic of it. They never go now. He's going to finish the story. And even now, when in the summer, he's going to have so many clubs after him anyway. So that's hard. But yeah.
What do you make of the fact, Daniel, that the club keeps saying that they want to back him, but then they're not buying any players? Like, isn't that kind of confusing to you? Whether you want Ange sacked or not, like that is just frustrating and confusing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
we keep hearing from them they like him and they're supporting him, but they're not actually doing that.
Well, they have, haven't they? Like before, he wanted Johnson, he wanted Werner, he wanted Madison. That's his words, by the way.
But this season, though, we've been crying out for a backup. We've been crying out for a backup defender. We've been crying out for more forwards. And that didn't happen.
Of course, yeah. Koulibaly was the only one, and then we didn't get him. Well, there you go. We tried, but we're scratching our ass. West Ham is apparently getting Duran. What the fuck, honestly? And we're scratching our fucking dick, you know? I just don't understand this shit.
Do you really believe do you really believe the players we signed are all Ange Postecoglou wanted them all? You believe that?
He said it, didn't he? He wanted Johnson.
Right. I get it. But this is where fans... No, I get it. But this is where fans need to do their research. You know, you can sit there and take Postecoglou off you what he wants and off his word in the press conference, but there also has to be an understanding. The guy's playing 5G chess in there. He's trying to appease the owners, appease the players, and appease the fans and the press to not give any click bites and stuff like that. If anyone's done any research into Tottenham Hotspur's transfer policy, and this is why this narrative doesn't help Tottenham, is we pumped millions into a data-led scouting model like Brighton. Do you think Brighton are giving their managers players that they're asking for? No, they're not. They're signing off this data-led scouting model, which many fans called for. Now that we have it, we're operating the exact same way. A manager ain't walking in here and saying, I want this player, I want that player, I want that player. By the way, Maddison, Tottenham were chasing him since his Norwich and Coventry City days. There's no way Postecoglou came in and said, I want him. There's no way. Tottenham have been chasing him longer before that.
He called him. That's what he's.
Of course, he's going to have a conversation with the manager. It's how transfers work.
Yeah, but I really want you. I need you in the system. This is the only. That's what's the call.
No, he said to James Maddison, "You can come or you can choose not to come, but we're going to play much different than that." He left it with James Maddison, but every manager has a conversation mostly with a player when they're signing. It's just not. It's just how transfers work.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it's just,
in the mud there, fucking Dave.
I just think, the way I see it, to Dave's point, Daniel, is just that if you are to complain and say, no, that's not my signing, then you risk doing what Antonio Conte had done with Jed Spence and what he had done with other signings. And, he put himself under pressure, gave the media plenty to talk about, put the eyes on Levy and the spotlight on Levy, that sort of thing. And, when you do that, your time is almost like you've shrunk, your time as a manager, like, and sort of the grace or the period that they would give you to fix things or figure it out will be less and less, because you've already called out the board, and you've called out even Scott Parker at Bournemouth, right? He called out the board for saying he wasn't given enough over the summer. They sacked him and then put in Gary O'Neill, and Gary O'Neill didn't complain at all, and he was able to get them to survive. So I think that's where it sometimes comes with managers. They have to be the ambassador of the club sometimes, whether they like it or not, whether they're even speaking truthfully or not. It's one of those things. They're not all Jose's, they're not all Conte's, sadly.
Yeah, sadly.
But kind of, maybe some final questions to you, my man. I mean, what did you make of the fact that Sonny, was, maybe not received too well from the fan base? Did you have an issue with that? Did you think that was maybe a bit too far? Chris was kind of saying, like the way they're playing right now, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. What did you make of maybe the way that Sonny was sort of apologizing to the fans and the way they treated him?
Well, it's the way of the sport, isn't it, really? Sadly, you're going to get abuse. It's the way it is with the sport, especially in England. I think the British are, sadly, I'm going to get a lot of hate, but I think the British are very expert on that, to really start abusing people.
Yeah.
And it's wrong. And, and of course, you put that person that wakes up in the morning next is going to be like, oh, shit, why did I do that? It's very reactionary, just to see absolute shit on the pitch. And then they're coming over. I just don't understand how you can clap, really. But of course, abuse words is, I think, boo is just enough. But
any ideas on what managers you'd like to see in next, Daniel?
Well, for me, it is Frank or Iriola. But again, that's not happening now. But again, I would rather have, but Solskjaer. You know what? I will have Solskjaer over Ange.
Who?
But he's just go Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Solskjaer?
Yeah, I would have him over Ange.
Didn't he not
just going to
Besiktas?
Yeah, he's just going to Besiktas. But I actually think he is better. That's how bad it is. I would just take
kind of like what Johnny said the other day, where you take Big Sam. It's becoming people are just like using levity humor.
Once you get a manager like that in the club, you've hit rock bottom.
Well, once Johnny said that, I was like, people are now just laughing about the situation we're in, just to sort of. I even was doing it yesterday. With the Brian Mason memes.
Yeah, we are slowly becoming the next Everton, where we're going to ponder around the relegation zone for the years to come if we don't change stuff now. Sadly.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, any final words, from yourself here? Hopefully life is going okay for you, my man, and hopefully work isn't too stressful or anything.
It's better now. Slowing down a little bit.
Okay.
But like I said, again, if it wasn't for this community, you guys, I would not be bothered with Spurs at all. Just to say that. I think you guys, yeah, but honestly,
sorry, we keep dragging you back into it. Then, Daniel.
Yeah, it's your fault. I blame you guys.
we keep suckering you back into it. Sorry, man.
And also, me personally, I'm a very reactionary guy. I get angry. If I get angry, I say a lot of stuff I don't really mean, like rude stuff. So I want to apologize to people if someone are watching, if I was rude to them or say something stupid.
No,
sorry.
It's very big of you, man. That's very big of you. We all get, a lot of us get that way. A lot of us get that way. So it's very nice of you to say that. Very nice of you.
And Thomas, though, fellow Norwegian says there, please, no, not so shy.
No, well, he's supposed to be Ange. He, of course, he's not going to want. But anyway,
he's a big backer of Ange. There are a lot of Norwegian fans. There are a lot of Norwegian fans, so he's a big backer of Ange.
What did Ange do to get the support out in Scandinavia? Don't understand that. But anyway, honestly, Daniel, absolutely great call, my man. Really enjoyed it. Anything else you want to say before we let you go, buddy?
No, I don't know what to say, really. I think I've gotten good amount out of my system, so I think that was enough.
Alrighty, man. Well
done, you came in here angry, you're leaving smiling. I suppose we've done our job, right?
Yeah, of course.
Same time next week, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one, man. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Great call from Daniel. Even though we disagree on some stuff, absolutely great call from Daniel there. And we have Joff Gibbs in the house. Big up, Joff. He's become a new YouTube member. Really appreciate the support, man. He also put in another comment.
Black Hat member. Thank you very much, Joff Gibbs. Like the name, by the way. But then he also, put in a comment saying, big up, guys. Just joined. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Alex Ferguson have the same problem after taking over United? Look what happened then. I'm not sure of the time scale, but I do remember that people have said that, that he did initially struggle at United and then had to sort of turn towards, that class of 92 or whatever it was at the time. And then that sort of saved his initial period, at Man United, which wasn't going well. And then from there, it just kicked on and he built a dynasty and built a foundation. So Ange, though, to a degree, maybe hasn't had the luxury to be able to use maybe the youngsters as often, and maybe just the way things have worked out, it just hasn't been the case that he could maybe use just that sort of. We have a very talented academy and very talented youngsters, but it just hasn't felt like maybe the right sort of circumstances to be able to do that, to rescue yourself.
Well, look, obviously, he done a great job at United and they've always had the finances and that, but, he did bring through that class in 91, which sort of, ended up bringing about a dynasty there, with the youngsters. And I've always argued, I think we've got that in terms of youngsters around Tottenham Hotspur. You look at some of the players we produced at under 21 level last season, combined with some of the signings that we've made, there definitely is that around. And I think, future of Tottenham is good, but what about the here and now? That's the big problem. But look, with Ferguson, he nearly got sacked. He ended up winning the game, didn't he? That saved his job, and he sort of kicked on from there. Look, let's see if Postecoglou can do something, at Tottenham in that regard. But lightning very rarely strikes twice. It's to replicate what Ferguson done. It's a bit of a pipe dream. But look, never say never. Let's wait and see. I think Ange, by the looks of it, he'd probably see out the rest of the January transfer window. Let's see if he can start winning some games of football and getting more and more people on side. Big up, though, Joff. But, I do like that Fergie comparison. You're absolutely spot on there. Big up, Blaine, Devin. Big up, guys. Love hearing different views tonight. Big up, Blaine. Really appreciate it. And look, this is what this fan show is all about. Speaking to everybody. Everyone has difference of opinions. Let's have a conversation. Let's hear what they have to say. Big up, Blaine. Really appreciate the support, my man. Really appreciate you tuning in as well and coming over and listening to what we have to say over here, my man. Really do appreciate that, buddy. We have Stateside Footy in the house as well. It says, good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope you're well. Quick question. Well, we're trying to keep as well as we can. Why do we fans think we're a big club when the fact shows we're not? We don't have the ambition of a big club. Oh, look, I think when you look at Tottenham Hotspur and the history is what creates a big club. It doesn't really matter about the size of your stadium and all. It's all about the history. Tottenham have history of winning leagues. The first team to ever put ribbons on the FA Cup. We've got history in Europe, a couple of European trophies in the bag as well.
Some of the first to do it in Europe.
Yeah, so like we've got history. That's what makes a big club, and so we are a big club. Our history states we're a big club. Recent history, well, look, that you can only really sort of pinpoint that down to the chairman and what his goals are for Tottenham Hotspur. Look, to be somewhat fair to Daniel Levy, the club I supported as a kid to the club now, it's a complete different animal in terms of size, in terms of, revenue coming through it, in terms of the size of the stadium, the training complex and everything else. It is operating on a complete different level. It's a complete different animal. But, it still begs the question, is Daniel Levy risk or risk averse? For me, a trained accountant, he's never really going to take that risk. And I think that's where he lets himself down, even under Pochettino, sometimes in the January transfer window, go and take that leap of faith and sort of just held back at times. You know, you look at Postecoglou in the summer, go and take that leap of faith, bring in 3-4 really good quality signings. We didn't do it. And the thing is, spending money ain't the problem at Tottenham. It's how we go about allocating it and spending it, which really lets us down. But also, when you've got the likes of state money coming into it, you know, it bridges that gap even further and makes it even harder to try and catch them. It just means you have to do 99% things right. And unfortunately, at Tottenham, we don't do that. But we are a big club, and I will never, ever have anyone tell me otherwise. It's your history that decides whether you're a big club, and we've got that behind us. Big up, Richard Freckleton as well. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Look, let's keep it moving. I think we've got 3 guests left. What's the order of them? Let me just double check here, guys.
We have Daniel, and now we have Rufus.
Rufus.
Sean was on later. Sean, you know, you could come on, you know, have a back and forth with Dave. We have
as long as he's going to speak sense tonight. I don't have the head for any of the waffle.
You turn it into your own Alex Davies, Shawnee Maddox, and then Donovan is towards the end of the show. But Donovan, the way I see it, Donovan, if you're still listening, sir, you would be after Sean. So you're third in line, because I think Eugene said he had something come up, so Eugene couldn't do it. So
I don't get to speak to Eugene tonight. That's disappointing.
So yeah, I think he had something come up. So yeah, you're third in line, Donovan. But we'll go to Rufus.
Big up, Donovan. Let's go on to Rufus. Let's hear what he has to say. Good evening, Rufus. How are you, my man? First of all, how are you recovering after your surgery? You look absolutely fantastic, buddy.
I'm doing all right. I'm suffering a little bit with some tendonitis and a couple of other side effects. But apart from that, I'm doing all right. I had one checkup so far, and it came back clean. So I'll have a checkup in February, and I'll have a checkup a couple of months after that. But
that's absolutely great. And I
was actually supposed to be going to see Tottenham at Hoffenheim this week, but it's actually on the day of my chemotherapy, so I can't.
That sucks.
Well, do you know what? It's probably your life is way more important than any football game, Rufus. You know, so. And to be honest with you, you know, the world works mysterious ways. Maybe it's the Lord taking you away from that game. You know, so that you don't have to be there and witness what's about to unfold. But look, Rufus, let's find out where you are at right now in terms of Tottenham Hotspur and Ange Postecoglou. You know, you've been listening, you've been in the back end nearly all evening, really appreciate the patience. But, you know, you're about, what I would say, 90%, you know, sort of Ange out. I think there's been 1 or 2 cases where people are maybe saying, look, give Ange time. Where are you at with the whole project?
I've always been, let's give Ange until the summer, you know, because I just don't think that people are there. But I just don't see how his position is tenable anymore, even for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've felt that way,
especially after the weekend. You know, like it's like I even turned around to Jacob and said, Calvert-Lewin had scored for nearly, what was it, 70? God knows how long. I said, I bet this Dross will make him score. And 10 minutes later, he scored a goal. It was a shit goal as well.
Could have scored a hat trick. It felt like against us, you know, Calvert-Lewin. That's how bad it was. But I'm with you, Rufus, and I think a lot of people might have been there where they were actually content on keeping Ange to the end of the season, pretty much no matter what. But despite saying that, just the points have become so few, like that it feels like we're now kind of pulling back on saying that, because, like you say, it's become a little bit untenable.
You know, there's a lot of people out there saying, you know, like we've got a lot of injuries at the moment. We've got 3 major players out at the back, which is all true, and it does have a bearing on how we're playing. But earlier in the season, we just kept dropping stupid points. You know, like we shouldn't have given Ipswich points. We gave Ipswich points. You know, but it's just getting untenable. It's getting unwatchable. It's what it's turning into. It's getting unwatchable. But you know, like I did have in my head what somebody said in the green room before all the chats started, when everybody was together. If we sack Ange, then there's going to be another 3 years. We haven't had anybody 3 years since Pochettino.
That's the problem, all right?
It's the most daft quote I've heard in ages. I was going to set us back 3 years sacking Ange. I would like not to sack him until the summer, but it's just feeling untenable to me. Like I don't see who we could get. I just don't see who we could get.
Let me ask you, do you think Levy will go and pay for a transfer fee to get a manager out of a club, or do you think the reason why Postecoglou is partly in the job because there's not a lot out there in terms of managers that are already out of contract?
I think Levy is actually counting how much money he's spent over the last 5 years. Eventually, because I mean, you only got to listen to the rest is football, the podcast I had it on the other day when I was cleaning. They turned around and said, none of our managers have turned out to be that bad. None of them, So it's got to be the club. And I have been Levy out for a long time, but I don't think we're going to get him out.
Well, there's a lot of takeover rumors recently, what I'm basically reading, and from my understanding, is that there's a certain section that are looking to a minority investment, and then there's another section maybe looking at a full takeover. Do you think Levy will look to part with Tottenham at any stage? You look at the trouble that Joe Lewis has landed himself in lately, and stuff like that. Do you think, and the noise around Tottenham, and look, with football finances becoming increasingly, more expensive, it's probably a sport they could be looking to get out of, sometime soon. Do you think that's the case?
I think I would love to see Levy go and somebody else to go, so somebody else to come in the summer, take over the club, take over the direction, and go into a proper rebuild, go into a real build. But I just see him as a bit like Lord of the Rings. My precious, and he's going to sit in the background and go for the partial investment and keep getting his nose in. He had his nose in.
Do you think that's why we haven't acted in the transfer window, that they are waiting for this sort of minority investment to happen?
I really don't see why we're not getting anybody other than Kinski at the moment. They might surprise us and just turn around and say, here's somebody and here's a shirt, which has happened quite a bit. But I don't know. It's just sort of I don't see a lot of investment in Ange total. Okay, you got Johnson, you got Timo Werner and so, but did that really eat all of Kane's money? Is that not a normal summer for most clubs? Even a club like Bournemouth or something, Really,
in terms of money spent, you don't think we've really spent as much as you would have thought? Yeah, with the Kane money.
I don't think so. I think the last 2 summers have been relatively normal summers for most clubs.
Yeah. Well, I would kind of agree with you. Like, Spurs tend to spend around 100 million to maybe a bit more than that sometimes, and that's kind of what we've averaged majority of these summers. But considering the fact that we have also sold Harry Kane, you would think that there would have been a 300 million pound summer, or a 200 million pound summer of some kind, or maybe one season where we sort of are joking, that we look like the Chelsea or the Forest of the transfer window, but that never happened.
One summer where we spent 150,
Yeah. I'm Rufus, so
I was listening to Dave go on about Timo Werner. He's a really nice guy, but me and Jacob most of the time call him Timo because he's a really nice guy and he does nothing on the pitch. He does good breaks, but it's not a player you want to give the ball to go into the back of the net. And once in a while we say, Werner, get in there, but we don't say it often enough, and it's sort of we're seeing Maddison tail off, and this season it's sort of you look at Son, and if Son's having a quiet first 15 minutes, you can pretty much write the game off Son-wise,
Is Son finished, or does Son just need a new manager to come in and get the best out of him?
That's a really good question, Dave. That's a really good question. I think he's lost a little bit of pace.
I agree with that. You could definitely see that for sure. That initial burst, it's gone.
I think he's lost a bit of pace. I think he's much better when he's out on the left-hand side than he is coming up the middle or striker or whatever, So I just get an impression that you can see if he's having a quiet first 15 minutes that he's going to have a quiet game, And sometimes it has a really good first 15 minutes, and you think, I'm glad he's on the pitch, It's but anybody that would go over to the away fan section after the way we performed. They have. Sorry, Dermot. They have to expect getting some flack, even if they are a club legend.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, you're going to get it. You got to remember, these fans, they've been following this club around the world for years. They've built up loyalty points, so that they can get their hands on these away tickets and that. They're die hard. They've followed this country up and down the country, this team up and down the country, across Europe, singing their names, chanting behind them. At some point, when they're seeing what they're seeing, you are going to get, frustration shown towards you. And look, I do think, if the W comment thrown at Son is a bit far, maybe a bit more constructive criticism if you are going to hammer the players. I think calling someone a W word isn't really any constructive criticism. It doesn't do anything any good. Some walks away hating him, they walk away hating Tottenham. It's sort of like a bit more constructive criticism to a degree. But look,
he's a brave man to go over to that away section. He's a brave man.
But I am getting worried about Son though, lad Rufus, because even last year, some of the goals and points, he's putting on the board, that's gone this year. It's completely dwindled. You know what I mean? We can't even rely on that anymore. And I just wonder, I'm starting to think, would a manager even come in and get more out of him? I agree with you. He's lost that half a yard. It looks like he's lost his confidence to a degree. He's never been strong enough. And the older you get, the harder it gets. I am sort of slowly coming around to the idea that Son is past it.
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult one. I think if I was him, I would go for a lesser challenge somewhere else. If I was him, just being honest. Do you know what I mean?
Should we be worried about his comments in November? Because it's an interview that was sort of glossed over, where he did sort of say, look, my contract situation hasn't been sorted out, but, this could be my last year at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, it could be. We could lose Son at the end of the year, especially now we got that, I forget his name, the new kiddie in from Korea.
Young Min-hyuk, yeah.
To keep the connection going and everything else like that. It's sort of like it almost feels a bit like Levy sort of kept him on a little bit longer to keep this connection going because it's making good money. And then now we've got another Korean.
I know what you mean.
I would love him to be the son of 4 years ago, but I'm sort of getting an impression he ain't.
I kind of agree with Ugly Fish's comment that if we had basically used him as we gave him a year extension, but it was more just so that we didn't lose him, I think, on a free or anything like that. But if we had given him maybe the minutes that we've been giving Timo Werner this year, and let's say it was for just the sake of it, just for easiness of it, let's say we did bring in Eze or something over the summer, right, Rufus? Like, it would have been nice if Sonny was used more like a Timo Werner, like kind of a former superstar of Spurs, given minutes, here and there, starting or off the bench, to be kind of just another superstar guy to have available. But we kind of already signaling that, we know he's starting to age on a little bit here. Yeah, but the fact that we're kind of still using him as if he is 3 years ago, Sonny, in his prime.
I definitely do get the impression of what you just said, that we rely on him to be the Sonny of old. More than we appreciate that he's lost half a yard here and lost a bit there. And it's like 3 or 4 times in recent weeks that he is skied in front of the goal. Absolutely. He's beaten the goalkeeper. He's got in a super scoring position and he's absolutely skied it. Absolutely rose-ed. And there's more than once. It's sort of like at least 3 or 4 times in the last 5 or 6 games. It's and it's getting to a point of it. It's just sort of like you almost don't want him to get the ball. You want somebody else to get the ball. It's sort of like, and I don't want to feel that about Son. He has been a legend for the club for many years.
No, 100% he has. And look, I agree with what Jack sort of said there. I still think, because everyone realizes the divide of quality across that forward line, we still expect Son to be that guy, even though he just can't be that guy anymore. And I think, because of that, he is taking a lot of the slack, away from other people. And I do think, your frustrations probably should be aired towards the likes of Maddison, who was brought in here. It's supposed to come in, help alleviate, give someone to work with, etc. The likes of Johnson, people like that. I think more of the slack should go their way, personally. Definitely agree with that. But Rufus, absolutely great talking to you, my man. We've got to keep it going. We've got more guests in the back end. First of all, I appreciate your patience, but second of all, keep me updated on your recovery, man.
I will do. I will keep everybody updated on my recovery. At the moment, I've still got a couple of little problems in my head, but that's getting sorted out. But as far as my lungs concerned and everything, and I keep getting tested, and it's coming back good at the moment. So that's the main thing,
Good. Well, look, keep fighting the good fight, my man, and we'll speak to you again next Monday, all right?
All right, then. Take care, mate.
Come on, Rufus.
Say hello to Jacob to us.
Come on, you Spurs. Well done,
Come
Rufus.
on, you Spurs. I say hi to Jacob.
Come on, you Spurs.
Legend.
Absolutely great to see Rufus, because, the last time I seen him, he looked like he was in a really bad way, I was concerned for him. So it's absolutely great to see him, back here full, more or less a full recovery, right now, which is absolutely great to see.
He's doing it rain or shine. He's doing it from hospital beds. He's doing it from, waiting rooms. He's done it now from, looks like, to be back in his apartment. So it's good to see that he's looking, like you say, a lot better. But fair play to the commitment, Dave. He's also,
true fighter.
he's commitment to fighting, to stay alive, but also, he's coming on these fan shows still, no matter what's, going on. So thank you, Rufus. Very, very kind to us, man. Very, very kind with your time. And also, I think I got a little bit of therapy from, his sort of rants. Like, it was a bit of one of those, he didn't claim to know the answers to everything, was just sort of, venting the frustration of a lot of things that we've been noticing and a lot of things that we've been seeing. So I thought that was, therapeutic for me even. But Dave, you have a little special battle now with Shawnee here with your midfielder. Now Maverick versus Maddox. We'll see how this goes down here between
Let's
you
bring
two.
him on. Let's hear what he has to say. Shawnee,
can you guys hear me?
There was a bit of an echo. I'm still hearing it. Maybe
I'll put myself on mute. Go.
Okay, no, I was just gonna say, I think the frustration for me right now is just the lack of decision by the club. Again, either back the manager or sack him. I'm tired of these half kind of steps. I've been probably flopping all season between Ange in and Ange out. At this point, I've seen enough. I'm just Ange out. I haven't seen enough out of what he's doing to warrant keeping him around. And again, I think, like, was it Rufus or one of the previous guests had said, is that they wanted to keep him until the end of the season. I've been Ange out. At no point did I think firing him before the end of the season was the right move, because I don't want Mason to manage us. But we're now in a relegation battle. I mean, we're like 4 points above the relegation zone. It's a relegation battle at this point. That is not acceptable from any Spurs manager. And it doesn't feel like the team is fighting for him. So I don't know how we can sit here and kind of maintain the status quo.
What do you see on the pitch that you think the team aren't fighting for? What are the telltale signs for you, Sean?
I mean, if you're looking at most of the senior players, like, the press that we had at one point is entirely gone. But also, like, players will lose the ball and they're jogging back. At least the beginning of the season, they were running back. Again, it just doesn't seem like they're that bothered. At Everton, when we went down, none of them had any urgency. No one looked like they were like, oh, we want to go and win this game. We care about the manager's job being on the line. Again, you saw that hunger from the youngsters, but again, the youngsters just want to prove themselves, prove that they deserve more minutes, etc. So they're going to play as hard as they can for any manager. It's those senior players like Madison, Sonny, even Kulu. Although Kulu, again, I think we see more hustle from him. Okay, he just hasn't been rotated at all. So I think I would give a little more slack to. But again, like Sonny and Madison are your captains. If they can't be bothered to run back and chase the ball down after they give a terrible pass away and lose it, how are you expecting anyone else on the team?
Yeah.
To put in any effort? Like
tired or
of the season,
tired or uninspired.
Yeah. I mean,
do you think they would for the next manager though, Sean? Sorry, maybe you're on a
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna finish the point. At the beginning of the season, Sonny was pressing on that forward line. He's not like there isn't a press anymore in this team. That's the one consistent part of Ange's football philosophy that was happening, even if we were struggling elsewhere. There was a press going on. I refuse to believe Ange just said, "Okay, stop pressing." Or I mean that was his thing to a degree. And again, even if the players are tired, you would see some bit of pressing. It might not last as long as you would like, but we just don't see a coordinated press in any capacity, and that's worrying.
No, look, I think that's fair enough. I think it's a good question, here, tired or uninspired. I think, when you look at the players across the forward line, I think personally tired, looking about games they've had to conduct themselves without any little rest, because of the injuries across there. So there is an element, even if sometimes your brain's telling you to do it, your legs just can't. And I just wonder, as they're being Postecoglou sort of said, look, maybe just drop off due to fatigue. But in some cases, it is uninspired. The likes of Johnson, Madison, they're not as tired as the likes of Son, or as tired as Kulu, or as tired as Solanke has been, or as overworked, and I do think there is a case with them. It is more so uninspired. So I think it's a bit of both. But the reality is, when it's a bit of both, it's hard to tell, and that again in itself is a problem. Sorry, Jack, I know you had a question for Shawnee.
Well, I think he kind of got to his point, and it was more just about like Sonny and Madison, and Sean saying that they're not running for Ange. But I kind of had a deeper sort of suspicion is like, yes, they probably would run, for the next manager, just given manager bounce, pressure on the players, that sort of thing. But who's to say they would not throw the next manager under the bus, if similar situation, comes, underway, which to say that won't happen is, it probably would. The next manager will go through a similar situation. Next manager will. So
we've repeated this cycle of them throwing every manager under the bus here for the last 5 years. I find it hard to see them changing that to any degree.
How do we change it though, Sean? Because it is something that has to be changed if we really want to move forward.
I mean, I think you have to change the people higher up the ladder, and I'm not even just saying Levy and the board, as we don't have any control. But again, they've allowed merit or maybe mediocrity to just sit there at the club.
Yeah,
and it starts within the club structures itself. We've probably had the least capable medical department of any Prem team, or at least any top Prem team, and they haven't resolved it. So apparently there's some announcements in like LinkedIn or something they're hiring.
Yeah. Well, is that not a problem? Should they not be going out to like university and getting the best of quality in?
They have the money to do that. Like, they have the top facilities. You should put them with the top people. But again, like, I think we were having a little bit of a row with the data-driven model. But like, again, we're not bringing in the top people to implement any of this scouting network. I think they actually did do a pretty good job with setting up the youth scouting network. But clearly, like, since Paratici has been absent because of his ban, we haven't been anywhere near as impactful on that side of things. There's just a lot of things that aren't doing well. Like the fact that Ryan Mason is here, it isn't a thing for or a lack of kind of desire to kind of push on. Again, I like Mason. Again, he loves this club clearly, but you can't have him hanging around here in the coaching staff, not showing any ambition to be, I want to be the best manager. I want to push on. I want to go take an opportunity rather than I'm sit here and just hang out. He hasn't proven himself in any capacity that he is a good or viable coach. And the fact that he doesn't want to go out and do that it is concerning to some degree. Like, yeah, maybe have him as a club ambassador if you want to keep him around a position where he doesn't impact the day-to-day thing. Again, we haven't seen anything to suggest he's a brilliant coach, yet he's out there managing the players' training and
taking a huge part in that.
Better. So why I'm questioning the fact that he's been here for 5 years and the team seems to struggle every time. It's maybe a question in terms of the caliber of the support staff we're giving to the coach. Because again, Conte wanted to bring in like 5 of his guys. We said you can have 3, but you have to keep Mason. If Mason was good, someone would have wanted Mason as a coach.
And the thing is, look, Mason might not even have any aspirations to go out. He's probably just happy to sit there, take the payday, and he's like, look, I'm around the club I love. And if that's the case, you know what? I don't blame him. I actually put the blame on the club for not recognise that. I sort of understand where you're coming from on that, Sean. But, Sean, you mentioned on the transfer window that we haven't had the same sort of impact since Paratici's left. Do you think that's due to a change in tact that they are actively out there trying to get younger players in, or do you believe that's down to the competence of the DOF?
I think it's starting to look like the DOF is at least part of the problem. Is there's not a lot of cohesion around what is the strategy for this squad in terms of everyone should have known we need another left back. A director of football has to look at the squad and say, we don't have a left back. We don't have a second striker. If there's an injury, we're in the same position we've been in for the last 3 years of having only one striker. So again, there has to be some level of cohesion. And again, it's even if it was a striker that maybe we didn't think was the best striker, we would have at least had a backup. And again, and that's part of the problem is there hasn't been a cohesive direction in this club. We flopped from defensive manager to defensive manager. We didn't buy them any talented defenders to implement defensive football. And then we moved to attacking managers, which again, I think is probably the right direction. We had the most success under Poch, who's more of an attacking manager. And again, if we get rid of Ange, we have to bring in an attacking manager because the squad is now built to play a more attacking football.
Yeah.
We don't have, and again, I mean, obviously we don't have the strongest forward line, but the bulk of the squad still caters toward an attacking style. You have to bring in another manager that plays attacking football. So when you strengthen the squad by replacing some of the guys that are underperforming or average with better players, that you're still playing attacking football so you can get the most out of like the Lucas Bergvall and those type of guys you brought in to play attacking football. And we haven't had that continuity. And I think that's what we need to be looking for in this next manager. Because I think at this point, even if we weren't in the relegation zone, the environment is way too toxic. There's clearly some issues behind the scenes that they're not telling us about, but it can't run this poorly without some other stuff kind of going on. Again, we would have brought in an attacking player if they had faith in the manager.
Do you know what annoys me? It just seems like, we interview a manager that would want to hire and we go, what's your biggest strength? And it doesn't matter where they go, defensive or attacking, they go, brilliant. What we'll do is your biggest strength, we'll save money on. And we'll spend money every other area. It's absolutely mind-boggling, this club, man. But I do agree with you. I do think Tottenham fans, even an older generation to me, are used to their football being played a certain way. So I do think, we are going in the right approach in terms of style of football, but we need to match it up. Like, if you are going to bring in an attacking manager, you have to bring in better attacking players. You have to play to his strengths to a degree. But look, it is what it is. But Shawnee, not as back and forth as I was expecting, my man. But look, we do have to.
Stand for the clubs.
Yeah, I just one thing. I promised Stevie that I would put in my choice for manager if they sack Ange. I want Xavi. He finished up with Barca. I think he could build a strong midfield with Bergwall and Gray and some of those players, and play some exciting football. And it's the type of football I would get excited to watch. So that's who I want to see us go after. And he's unemployed, so they can get him on a free, which is Levy's favorite type of manager.
Yeah. Well, if he's on a free, he's certainly on the list, so you can guarantee that. It's just whether he, the guy's a winner. I just wonder, will he smell a rat and go, "Look, I ain't touching that football club."
I mean, that's the challenge to bringing any manager in, and probably why Ange is still there. But if we had to go and make a choice, I think he would be a fun attacking manager that they could get the most out of some of our current players, because I think we have that group of young players coming through that could actually play some of that more tiki-taka
agreed
kind of focus of football. And honestly, that 2010 Barca team was my favorite football to watch. So that's what I want. I don't think it's going to happen, but
that's
like,
what we do differ. For me, that killed football. Guardiola's
Dave, you didn't like that Spanish World Cup squad, not World Cup, the Euro squad. I saw you complain a little bit. I think I won you over a little bit toward the end, but again, I think that as long as you have some of those exciting attackers in that squad, you can go out and attack, but then you can keep possession. If we have the ball, they can't score on us. So I think there's a world in which you can make that work and exciting in a degree.
But
absolutely. That requires a higher caliber in a few of the positions and us to spend money, which we haven't done recently very well. Because again, and that's the frustration, is we spend so much money on terrible players. If we had just spent all of that on good players, we could be winning and challenging for leagues and trophies.
It felt that way. That it felt like a big building year this year to do that.
Winning all of those trophies haven't really outspent us by that much.
Yeah,
they just hired smarter people who are better at their jobs and fired the people that didn't get results. Again, Liverpool has proved football can be run like a business and be successful. But you need to put in a meritocracy, not a people that Levy likes who are loyal to him.
100%. And that's Tottenham's biggest problem. We bring people in, they don't get the results that they're brought in to do. And it's like, rather than blame you, who else can I go and blame? And then they're left here. And that's why we're sitting here with a rotten club. But Shawnee, absolute great conversation this evening, my man. The only thing we disagree on this evening on that conversation is Spain or the 2010 Barcelona team. But no, that's a result. But Shawnee, go and have a good evening, my man. I'm pretty sure I'll speak to you later on at some point.
Sounds good. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. See you,
have
Sean.
a good one, Shawnee. Actually, really good calling from Shawnee. I actually really enjoyed what you had to say there, to be fair. But look, we'll move on. Last guest of the evening. We'll bring on Donovan. Let's hear what he has to say. Donovan, good evening, my man. How are you?
Hey, Donna.
Lads, how you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. What do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, no, first of all, thanks for doing this for all of us. Yeah, I don't know. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at a couple things. I like to write down my thoughts, so it's a bit easier for me.
Let's go.
Yeah, like I'm annoyed at the fact that we were like thoroughly outclassed by Arsenal. Like we weren't just beaten by Arsenal, we were thoroughly outclassed by them. Like they were just a level above us, and we're supposed to be the second year in the project, and we're supposed to play this amazing attacking football. And just the gulf of class was still there to see. It's something that we've struggled with since pretty much Thierry Henry played for them. So it sucks. Positive. We'll flip it over to a positive. I saw some fight last night. For Madison of all players. Like what's going on here? There's a clip where he was, I forget who was on him. Someone was breathing down their neck because they had an unrelenting press by Everton. Like, first of all, we can say we were shit. We were, but let's give Everton the credit they deserve. Like, they came out ready to play, and they played right to the 80th minute, right? They were on us. They were pressing us off. And after the third time, Madison kept getting like you do that thing where you pre-press the player and you kind of just leave one on them. You like rake the back of their leg. You just let them know you're there. You leave an elbow in their numbers. He swung out at him. And I was like, whoa, okay, there's Madison. He's looking around for some help, and he realizes, hey, like, damn. And I thought actually Madison played a pretty good game. So, yeah, kudos to him. I agree with one of the statements you made earlier, Jack, this season, where I think we're a better team. It's so confusing, not just Tottenham, but like who we are as a team. But it's like, it's also confusing with our best 11 because we don't really know our best 11. But I do agree with the notion that though he doesn't really get stuck in tackles and he's not that grafter, like we just play better going forward with James Madison on our team. So it was nice to see Madison kind of give him a counter of himself.
But we were also 3-0 down by halftime, down, and this was no Brennan Johnson, and the team to blame or anything like that, right? Like, what do you think is it? Just, to me, in my opinion, like I think we're playing worse almost each passing game. It feels like, I think we were really concerningly poor against Tamworth, like you brought up against Arsenal. We were actually going into that game weirdly confident, maybe thinking we could have gotten a result. We were outplayed, outclassed, outthought for 90 minutes. And then in the Everton game, like 3-0 down to Everton, a team that's only scored 15 goals all season before that. It's just it's hard to.
Okay, you take away.
It just feels like things are headed in a very downward direction.
Yeah, you take away anyone's starting center back, you take anyone's starting left back, you take anyone's goalkeeper, you take anyone's striker, you take anyone's two defensive midfielders out of the team, right? And you call it a project, they're going to struggle. All right, there's no argument there. Like, that's facts. And I don't agree with the notion. And I don't agree with the notion that because Ange has proven that he's tactically flexible and he's changed formations, that suddenly he's a hypocrite and suddenly his theos and everything he's worked hard to create is null, and he doesn't. And just because he proven that he was tactically flexible, that suddenly this whole project is thrown out the window and everything he said is false. Like, that's like, hello, like, where does that come from? I don't get that.
Do you not agree though that if you're out there, for nearly 2 years saying you're not going to change, this is the way I play, I'm not going to adapt, and then all of a sudden, under immense scrutiny, under immense pressure,
he hasn't said that. He has not said that. He has not said that. And I'll bring up.
Said that in any of his press
I'll bring up a quote. I'll bring up a press conference where he addresses that exact fact. I'll bring you back to Ange Postecoglou pre-match for Sheffield United when he was questioned about his formation change versus City and adding an extra midfielder and playing 3 at the back for the last 10 minutes of the game. Necessity is the mother of invention. That's one of the biggest misconceptions about me. That I've just got one plan. I've used every system in the world in my career, often during games, often during seasons. I've played with every formation that I can. The idea is to play the game in a way that makes your opponent uncomfortable and gives them something they're not expecting. It's a lot easier than people think it is to tweak these ideas, as long as your principles stay the same. And that's where I am. That's what I'm about. These principles with having the ball, pressing, these ideas don't change. It's just the way we do it and the way of positioning. So I'll caveat that by saying we're in the worst injury crisis of our career. We don't have the likes of Romero to play 3 at the back. We don't have Van de Ven to play 3 at the back. We don't have a ball-playing quarterback that could sit in between them and play this nice spraying pass that we thought Dyer could play in the back 3 with Conte. The necessity is the mother of invention. The necessity here is the fact that David Moyes plays a very direct brand of football that requires a big, strong, heavy striker with two pacey wingers that can exploit that way going in behind. He's also very direct. And he's also very counterattacking. Also, I think Ange just looked at our away record at the Goodison Park and realized not only how we shit there in the last 6 times, but we're also need to get points on the board. I don't think he's anticipated the fact that we slipped this far down the table. I don't think anyone could have really anticipated. And I do agree with you, Dave. Earlier, you're saying how I don't think that he's expecting this big of an injury crisis either. So this is something foreign to him too. But the necessity here is that we needed to get a point, not just 3, but we just needed a point. I don't think by switching to 3 at the back, he was inviting us to sit this low counter-attacking football and playing this, we're going to sit back like we did against Jose and Conte. I think it was just, let's shore up that back so we can have a couple extra bodies to deal with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But obviously it didn't work and I got our wires crossed. But I just don't agree with the fact that because he tried something different, suddenly he's this big hypocrite. I just don't.
He's a hypocrite, though. I'll tell you why. Because Postecoglou has said many times, I don't know what plan B or C is. I'll stick with plan A. That's fact. That's been out there. He's also said, if people want me to change my approach, it's not going to change. We are doing it for a reason. We are doing it because we think it helps us to be successful. But then all of a sudden yesterday, he goes out and changes his approach to a large degree. You know, in recent times, he's changed his approach. You go back to Liverpool at Anfield, changed his approach. You know, so when he goes and does that yesterday, and like he's never played a back 3 at Tottenham ever, bar yesterday. So when he goes and does that, and he's been saying everything he's been saying in press conferences, how am I supposed to believe in what he's trying to do if he doesn't even believe it anymore?
Or even like I don't buy that. I don't buy the fact that he doesn't believe in his own theos. I don't.
Why would he go to a back 3 then when he had the option to play the usual 4-3-3?
Because he's played back 3. He's played back 3. He played back 3. He's played back 3 for Australia countless of times. He brought that team. He was
at Tottenham.
Is he not a football manager? Is he not allowed to look at the squad and be like, okay, this is what we need for this game. These are the changes we need to have.
That's fine, but he hasn't done that for nearly a year and a half.
Because we have not had the injuries we've had these last 2.5 years. I strongly believe if you had Van de Ven, Romero, Vicario, Udogie, Bentancur, Bissouma, we would have lined up a 4-2-3-1 or whatever the hell we would have done for at the back. But the fact that we're literally on our last available first teamers, we had to do something drastic. I don't believe that because of, it's all willy-nilly now, I'm just gonna like throw my toys, whatever, blah blah blah. That's not what it is. This is unprecedented. This is not seen. Like nobody would go into the season planning for this. That's why that's why we fired our head of medical director, and that's why we're having Indeed posting looking for a new head of medical department right now. This is a crisis.
I agree, but where I disagree is, you know, everything he said at Tottenham Hotspur for a season and a half, and all of a sudden you change up for the Everton game, and I don't buy the excuse. He could have easily put Archie Gray in the CDM role. He had 2 centre-backs there in Davies and Dragusin. He had a right back and a left, you know, and Spence playing at full-back. He could have easily went with the 4-3-3. A manager only changes up his formation and stuff like that when he's not known for changing it, when he feels the pressure and he's trying to, what he's trying to do isn't working, so he's changed it up to try and get a reaction, and he didn't get that reaction. Look, people can say I'm sitting here talking shite, but that's just my experience being in the game of football. You know, people said I was speaking shite about Harry Kane and Tottenham careering towards a relegation battle. Where are we now? People said I was talking shite about Paratici. Where are we now? You know, so people can sit here and say I'm talking shite. I get it. But the reality is, it stinks of a guy who tried to change stuff up drastically to try and get a result, because he hasn't even worked on that in training. He's had two or 3 days since the North London Derby. He hasn't even prepared in it. It's suicidal to go out and do that.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that. I believe we're just working on conjecture. I believe we're thinking of opinions. I believe we're adding our own personal opinions into the narrative we're trying to form here, because none of us are there at the training ground. None of us know what the hell's going on.
I'm not going off personal opinions, Donovan. Donovan,
so here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. I agree with you. I agree with you in the fact that
Donovan,
that he has to get a result.
I will let you move on in a second, but you're not going to sit here and say it's all based off my personal opinion. You don't know how many articles I sit here and read. You don't know what I'm sitting there and watching. It's known fact that days before games, they're not in there working on formation. They're in there doing light training. The day after game, it's known for a fact they're out there doing recovery. Ali Gold, Football London, who you probably quote a lot of the times, has written about it countless extents. So to sit here and say I don't know what goes on is a stretch when I'm sitting here and reading it. So don't sit there and say, because my
I didn't just spend the last three days after that looking up stuff too, man. Anyone can get Google, anyone can go online and look up stuff, man. Like this is what are we doing here? Like I'm trying to debate. I'm not trying to
yeah, but you lost the debate when you're sitting there going,
I pay my £5 a month to come on here and give my ideas, man. Like I don't know what's going on here, but can I speak or do I have to go? Like what's going on?
No. I don't know what you're getting ratty. At the end of the day, you spoke. I'm sitting here giving my retort, and I'm not going to let you speak and go on when you're sitting there going, yours is based off personal opinion when it's not. It's based off what I'm seeing and what I'm reading. So now we can move on. But don't sit there. You lost the debate when you start getting ratty and throwing out comments like that. Now we can move on. And I like you, Donovan. I don't know why this has gone like this. I like you, but don't sit there and do that when it's based off what I'm reading and stuff like that.
So I'm reading an article that he was, in his own words, but that's irrelevant because it doesn't fit the narrative of this argument right now. So I'm confused. I really am. I don't disagree. Sorry, Jack. What's that?
I think where you guys are caught up is that you were saying that Dave is basically saying his opinion is just based off his opinion. But Dave is saying that in the past few weeks, which is true, I believe, from what I've heard from Ali Gold, they haven't had a lot of time to work on tactics. They haven't had a lot of time to work on formation because they've been basically playing week in, week out, and they have a lot of injuries. So they're doing a lot of recovery, light training, not a lot of real intensive tactical training. So the fact that he did make this change to a back three, and just final sentence, if he did make this change to the back three in the final weeks, considering what Ali Gold and others have reported, that they haven't been working on that sort of thing. They've been more working on just recovery, that type of stuff. It does seem like a very bold change by Ange Postecoglou.
I don't believe that though. Like this week, yes. Okay, we're going to talk about this week for sure. Maybe because we're so stretched on the squad. But this is a professional football club with professional footballers. I play the game at the third highest division in my country, dude. I understand how tactics and what it means to go into the locker room and go into the library after and listen to these tactics. And I promise you 100%, we don't just sit there and we practice one formation. We know how to play certain formations. We're ballers, and we know when the manager tells us to go do something, there's usually a reason behind it. Now, I agree with you that, yes, he may be desperate and he may be trying to get results on the board and points on the board here because we are in a relegation fight. And maybe part of it is him trying to save his own skin and get points on the board because it is result-based business. But, yeah, I don't even know. Like, it's lost now. Apparently, I've lost the debate. I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm backing the manager because I'm not going to throw another manager under the bus. You said it yourself, Dave, in the last video in the Twitter's React, how it's funny how Conte can be at the top of the league with a subpar Napoli squad. You have a Nuno Espirito Santo that's absolutely flying with Nottingham Forest. By the way, a prestigious club who've won the European Cup. And Jose Mourinho who can go win Europa Conference League with a team that was a lot less prestigious to us in a competition that we got slapped up in. So what is it? We're going to throw another manager under the bus to get another a manager bounce and be here in another 18 months? I don't agree with that. I just don't. And what I do agree with is the fact that Ange Postecoglou is saying we have a broken fan base and a broken, divided fan base because that's the truth of the matter, man. Because half of us want him in, half of us don't want him. Half of us can see the real problem is Daniel Levy and the board not backing anybody, not even Pochettino. So I don't know what we're at here. I don't know where to go.
I think we're just sort of, I think it wasn't really like a huge disagreement. I think just Dave, just personally didn't like the fact that you said, his opinion is based off his personal opinion when he is saying that he believes from what he has read that things, have suggested from Ali Gold, various sources that, they are not actively working on tactics at this moment in time. They're just working on getting as many players back, working on recoveries, working on preventing players.
We worked on a back three during the summer months. They could have worked on a back three during the international break.
And then that's, you believe that to not be the full story. And so then there's a disagreement. But then I think what he's saying is there's no need to say that one's is a personal opinion and the other one's isn't. Maybe you both have read the same things, but you've taken different conclusions.
No, he's literally said in my knowledge of the game and with my knowledge of the game, that's an opinion. That's a basic opinion.
Yeah, I said no. See, Donovan, you're not listening. I said usually when you change up drastically like that, that's my opinion. Yes, but when I said they haven't worked on it, it's not based off a personal opinion. It's based off what Football London are putting out there after games, before games, etc., etc. To your point, though, how do you know they have worked on it?
How do I know Tottenham Hotspur Football Club work tactically on formations? You see it in an Amazon documentary. You see Jose sitting down with the players in a theater room telling us how to play. You see him in the halftime, was it episode 3, episode 4, when he does that famous, you got to be constant. He's got the board up with all the stickers and whatnot. Like, that's tactics and that's formation. It's pretty hard to argue that you don't think a manager knows how to lay his tactics on the foot. Okay, lads, today we're going to do a back 3. This is what we're doing. This is what
you I said, Donovan, I asked you, you said mine was based off an opinion. I'm asking you, where's your factual evidence he's worked on it? Yours is an opinion.
Well, he says in his book that he wrote that he uses tactics.
At Tottenham Hotspur, where's your fact that I've worked on it?
Mate, I just read you a quote for the Manchester City game when they spent that week working on a different formation to include an extra midfielder when he historically played 4-3-3 all year, but he switched to a 4-5-1 for that game. So obviously he worked on his tactics that week. I'm sorry?
Yeah, and maybe an extra midfielder, still 4 at the back. There's no evidence to say he worked on a 3 at the back ahead of that game, though, is there?
We're not talking about 3 at the back. We're talking about different formations right now. So if you want to go nitpicky and he said, she said, I can do this with you all night. I'm not talking the fact that these are professional footballers, and when a manager sets them up a certain way, that's how he feels is the best way to go about the game. Doesn't make him a hypocrite. That makes him a man capable of doing his own job. So I don't know where we're at. Are we got another hypocrite, but we're going to fire another hypocrite, and then we're going to sit there, watch him win a league somewhere else and win trophies, and watch other players go win trophies, and we're going to sit here wondering what's going on? I do agree with you the fact that this is the first manager with the post-Kane and Son era, and that's got to be a huge hand tied behind his back. He's playing with one hand. But for the fact that we're nitpicking these details here, I don't understand what we're doing now.
See, the thing is, Donovan, right? I actually agree with a lot of the defenses made for Ange Postecoglou. I fully actually agree with a lot of what you said here in defense of Ange Postecoglou, to be fair. But I'm at the point where I'm fed up with it. I can't take losing any more games. I stated that earlier on in the show. Me personally, and everyone has their own breaking point. I've reached mine. Do I think changing manager and getting in another manager is going to be long-term beneficial for Tottenham? No, I don't. I think it's only going to bring around another manager cycle. But the reality is, I don't want to take the risk of getting into a relegation battle, because I stated this before. I don't believe we've got the 4 players to get us out of it, and I don't believe we've got the right characters to get us out of it. Characters that love this club, that want to see this club be successful. So I actually agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I have reached my rope. And to be honest, I'm disappointed. I don't know why we've got into this sort of argument here. You know, you did let Jack speak, but when I wanted to speak, you wouldn't let me speak. I don't know what your problem is with me this evening here, but at the end of the day, I agree with a lot of what you've got to say. But just because I've reached the end of my rope, I don't understand the heat.
I'll caveat that. My end of my rope is going to be if we lose that Liverpool game away. So we're definitely near the breaking point. And it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do. I respect you, and I respect this opportunity you're giving us to come on here. Where the heat came from is how I presented you with his own written word, where he's saying, I've actually highlighted. Sorry, what's that? What's that?
No, you can finish, Donovan. Sorry, you can finish.
No, I didn't hear what Dave just said. What did you say, Dave?
I said I've also presented you 2 or 3 articles that I can pull up where he said I'm not going to change. You know, what's plan B?
So is he contradicting himself? So this is something you and I are talking about now. So
I think that's what you guys are.
Right? He's contradicting himself there because he's saying that the idea is to play in the game that makes your opponent uncomfortable. And I think that who said it earlier? Someone came on saying how since Gary, I think it was Michael, saying this is Gary O'Neill went and put a PowerPoint on national television, international television, saying how to beat Tottenham Hotspur. So I think everybody in that Everton camp would have known that Ange Postecoglou was coming out with a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 version to come out and play in. I think by switching that up, that's a way of completely throwing any kind of tactical awareness outside the book for Everton, kind of like Mourinho did when he introduced Rashford in that Arsenal game, and nobody knew it was Rashford because Arsenal spent the whole week getting ready for Zlatan Ibrahimovic up front, right? So I think there was a bit of blindsiding there, but you can give me an article all you want, Dave. I'm giving you one that says that I've often used different systems in my career, often during games, often during seasons. Those are his words. That's not him saying I'm going to stick to one formation throughout the whole season. As long as you do it. Sorry?
No, sorry. I keep cutting across you sorry.
No, it's like as long as you don't change in the way you approach it. You can play with 3 at the back as long as you're still pressing, as long as you're still having percentage of the ball. We had a lot of the ball that game, but we didn't do anything with it. As long as you're still playing.
Just wanted to chime in though, Dave, first. I wanted to chime in first and just say that I think what you guys are finding though here is you guys are using Ange's words, but Ange's words are in fact contradicting themselves. Like at one point he is saying like, I've used all the systems in the world, but at Spurs he hasn't done that. And then he also, when has been asked about, with journalists, they've even joked and kidded with themselves. It's like an inside joke, when they ask him, oh, do you think you might change something for this game? He's laughed at them and gone like, mate, like, the answer to the question, like, move on. So I think you could say that there's probably a bit of contradiction just with your quotes that you have that are valid that Ange has used, but also ones that Dave could pull up would show that Ange has sadly contradicted himself. And that's where the fact that he hasn't ever really made that many changes stylistically or tactically, at least formation-wise, his entire time at Spurs. And then all of a sudden he makes a really radical one and it didn't work. It didn't pay off when he needed to get a win. I think that's where, again, people are upset with him and people have lost their rope with him.
And the thing is, I don't disagree that you can do all this in a back 3. Of course you can. But my whole point in general is when you've bred into your team, you're playing a back 4 and you've trained on it, you've worked on it for almost a year and a half. And all of a sudden you switch up to a back 3. I'm not saying Ange hasn't done that in his career. Most coaches that have reached his level are, tactically astute. I'm not saying he's not tactically astute. But to switch it up from a back 4 in the North London Derby to a back 3 against Everton with very little time in between to work on it, if any, that's your problem right there. I'm not saying Ange can't do it, but when you're asking a team to do something, it's very hard for them just to switch from a back 4 and everything you're asking them to do to go into a back 3, which I don't care what anybody tells me. It's a different game. It's different dynamics. The ball's coming at you different angles, playing it out different ways, etc. And that's where the problem is.
I see that, and I'm almost wondering if it's like the fact. Well, a couple things here. First of all, I agree with everything you just said there, just so we can find some common ground here, and it's not all heat coming towards you. Like it's not just heat coming towards you; it's the heat
I agree with a lot of what you said this evening.
Yeah, and likewise, and it's like the fact that it's not heat coming towards you or Jack is the fact that it's heat coming towards me because we're in a small percentage now, the Ange inners now, and it's quite alarming actually. I do agree with you that we can't get into a relegation fight because I don't believe we have the minerals to get out of it. So there's breaking points there. But just to touch on what you said about the tactical of the back 3, I'm wondering if Ange thought of Archie Gray as a hybrid 6 because I've played in systems before. Myself, I've played the role of where you're a 6, but out of possession, you drop back into a 3, almost like Eric Dyer did back when Poch had him playing good football, where you could step into the midfield, step back. And the fact that it's panicking, we're in the bottom half of the table, maybe he's a bit young and naive, and that is an intense atmosphere at Goodison Park, where you look at him crashing into Dragusin for that first goal, and they got each other's wired crosses. It's the first time in a competitive environment. Yeah, but to call the man a hypocrite, that's where I'll push back. I think it's a little harsh, and I think it's a little reactionary based on the compounding of what just happened these last month. I think it's compounded with that. And it's a little bit reactionary because hypocrisy is a big word, man. He's accomplished a lot in the game of football, and
see, that's one thing I don't dispute. I don't think he's a useless manager. I've said that many a times. I think, I've argued with people. It's like, look, you can't blame him for all the problems at Tottenham Hotspur. He's not a useless guy. It's worked out everywhere else he's been, bar Tottenham Hotspur. But, like I said earlier on, I've just had my full of it of losing games, Donovan. That's all it is, Like I've said, I don't believe it's going to change. I believe the problems are inherent at Tottenham Hotspur, and they need to be sorted out to give any manager a chance. And I like Ange Postecoglou. I'm still going to look out for what he does beyond Tottenham Hotspur. But the reality is, like I said, I just don't want to take the chance of where we're heading right now. And that's why I've reached
You're explaining your breaking point. You're explaining how you've come to that breaking point despite
and
supporting him
that,
beforehand.
Yeah, I get it, and everyone's allowed an opinion. Everyone's allowed like their own belief, and so just a question, person here, Dave, like fan to fan here. So like, you want a manager to come in for the manager bounce so we can stave off relegation and then just kind of just restart next year, I guess, because like the season's, I guess, is a write-off. We don't think we're pushing for top 4. Like, you just want to avoid relegation, and that's kind of how far we've fallen then. If I want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just asking if that's kind of what you think.
Yeah, look, the way I see it is, right, I look at some of the teams that, we've played this season, Palace, Ipswich, and that Palace game, we did have a lot of our players, available to us and stuff like that. And we just couldn't break them down. We couldn't beat them. And, they're the teams that you need to be picking up points off the second half of this season to stave off that battle. If you keep losing to them, they're only going to close that gap. Look, I still agree with you. Look, the season's still on in terms of the cup competitions. And I desperately want a trophy. To be honest, Donovan, I never thought I'd be in this position this season. I really didn't, lad. But the reality is, if it comes to it, yes, I want the manager bounce to stave off relegation, because if we win a trophy and go to the championship, we will be the new Nottingham Forest down there for 20 odd years.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. You talk about the gallows humor there, Jack. Last episode, there, and it's kind of funny watching the dynamic there of like Jack laughing at your pain, and then Dave, you getting constantly worked up about like, because like what else can you do, right? But I don't think we'll have the minerals to bounce back up. We'll be a yo-yo club. Best team in the championship. No, dude. See, I'm still holding on to the fact and the idea that like Ange has captured lightning in a.
If he starts winning games, I'll be straight back on board.
Oh, it's not even that. It's just the fact that I think Ange has captured lightning in a bottle, and I think you said that exact terminology earlier, where it's like he's shown that he can get these results at like Aston Villa, and the fact and the City, and the fact we did the double on Manchester, and that first leg with a broken squad against Liverpool. Like, these moments are there, and I'm still holding on to the fact that Ange has a couple aces up his sleeve with the squad. I'm hoping it's a mentality thing with the squad where it's like we're just saving it for the cup, because if we, like I said, we talk about breaking points. I know he's got trying to wrap up the squad here. Wrap up the show, I should say. If the squad still believe in Ange and are still giving everything in the cup, and we can get over the line against Liverpool, I strongly think we're going to win the Carabao, and that's enough for me. But the problem here, I do agree with you. I do agree with you here, is that we can't have that, but also get relegated, because the form in the league has suffered so much where we're in a relegation fight, because that'd almost be counterproductive of the we want a cup, but like at what cost, right? So we do need to win a couple games in the league, and unless Leicester, that is going to be a tough game. We have Harry Winks. I joked about it jokingly in the pre-match build-up and everything, but it's the fact that we have Harry Winks. We're going up against a double pivot of Harry Winks and Ollie Skip. And you think those lads are going to come in like, oh, how we're back? No, they're going to come in ready to break legs, because they think they should be playing for Tottenham Hotspur. They grew up a Tottenham boys, and this game is going to mean the world to them, because they're playing for their pride, and not just their pride, but their family's pride, because that's got to be. It's kind of got to take one to the chest, and it hurts to lose your spot as your boyhood club to get, in their eyes, a lesser move. So it's going to be a battle in Leicester, man, at Tottenham Hotspur when we play Leicester. So yeah, it's business end of the season, but I'm not going to give up on the manager, man. I can't.
Look, and no one's sitting here saying you should. At the end of the day, if you believe in the guy, stick by your conviction, stick by your opinion. And look, the reason why I sort of pivoted yesterday is because Everton are a team for me who have struggled. They've struggled to score goals, but they broke us down so easy yesterday. They had the game done and dusted by halftime. I don't buy into the second half fight back. Everton relaxed off us. They allowed us a lot more possession because they thought the job was done. They wanted to see out the 3-0. They didn't want to take the risk. And maybe it is a part of me today where I'm emotional, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm probably panicking to a degree. It could be that. The reality is, I've always said with Postecoglou, when you're Ange and you're Ange out, it's results that will get the people that are out back on board. And, it's where I'm at now, He's got to start winning games to get me back on board. I'm not going to sit here now that I've made my mind up, and if he starts winning and proves me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm still Ange out just because I want to be right. I'm not going to do it. I agree with a lot of what you had to say. It's just where I'm at personally. And look, if he wins the next 2, 3, 4 games, then you'll see me back on singing his name and everything else. But Donovan, we do have to end off here, my man. I do want to give you a chance to plug the channel, though. Jack was kind enough to put the link in there a couple of times throughout. So people do get over, check out Donovan Oosterreicher. It's Canadian Spurs boy over there. Have you uploaded any more videos? The last time I checked, you haven't uploaded any in a while.
No, I took a bit of a break there in the winter. Maybe I'll take all this angst and throw it in a video, and then have one final plea. Are you not entertained? No, but I just wanted to leave it on this. Like, I don't want to plug my channel. I appreciate the link and everything. I just want to say that, like, you nailed it on the head, Dave. I think it's nothing to do personal. It has nothing to do with fans on fans. It's the fact that we are panicking. Like, we are in a position where this is foreign to us. Like, I know everyone takes a banter about us as Dr. Tottenham, like we're the bottlers, we're Spurs, what have you, but this isn't right. And this is something where we can joke about the relegation, we can joke about the relegation humor and stuff, but I do agree with you, Dave, in the fact that, like, you speak your own reality. Like, you speak your own reality, and if you start talking about relegation, chances are you're going to get yourself thrown in that dogfight, and that's where I don't want us to be. And we need to unite us. We need to unite as fan bases, and I have nothing against you. I came in a little hot because it wasn't you or Dave, you or Jack. I love you guys both. It has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that we're in a fan base where it's like it's like the Titanic's going down. I'm trying to catch China falling down. I'm trying to catch.
Man, you're trying to explain the Titanic and why you're not jumping off, and you know it's a tough thing to do, and it's also going to come with passion, and it's going to come with I just during times like this, it's always going to be spicy. It really is. Like, people are going to be finding it.
To be fair, I'm surprised we waited this long in the fan show. What, 3 hours in to get it?
That was my belief, is that one of these was always going to get spicy. But as always, I think we prevail and we find commonality, but we just hear each other out. And I think that was still definitely achieved tonight. So appreciate you, Donovan. Class as always, sir. And we'll see you soon, buddy.
Being the mediator. Okay, have a good one, guys.
I'll see you on the next pre-match build-up, my man.
Thank you, Donovan.
Yes, sir. I'll see you
Thanks for being patient as well, sir.
All right.
Just text me, let me know your availability, and then when I wake up in the morning, because we're awake at different times, my man. So when you wake up in the morning, then I'll just send the link over like usual.
Glad. I'll see you for Leicester, man. We'll talk about Ollie Skip, man. That'll be a good one.
You're not around for Hoffenheim?
Oh, Hoffenheim. I guess I'll be around for Hoffenheim. I forgot about that. See, I'm just thinking about the league now because we're in panic mode. We got to get points on the board, right? But
yeah, big time. Well, look, I'll speak to you soon, Donovan. We'll have more conversations about this great football club of ours. Have a good evening, my man.
See you guys. Take it easy.
Big up, Donovan. Big up, Donovan. Do you know what? I don't mind it getting like that at times. Look, what happens? We're all passionate about this football club. We all love this bloody football club, and that's what it is at the end of the day. But Jack, I think we've done a good job speaking to as many people as we can today.
Yes, we have. And I think while we were in the middle of that debate, we did actually have some support come in. Ugly Fish, thank you very much. Put in some very kind comments, I think, throughout the show as well, Ugly Fish. So appreciate you. Just gave a one I think I've seen Dermot use and whatnot, maybe just signaling his favorite Irish Spurs fan, or just signaling that he likes the content. Then also as well, I think this was also kind of during the debate. Artist T was saying we lost 6-1 to Newcastle because of formation change. Now, I have the memory of a goldfish, Artist T, at times. So I'm trying to actually remember the change that he even made for that game. And I hate to do that, and not give your super chat any justice or anything. Did he switch to back three? Was it like formation? Was it personnel that was different? If you're still listening, Artist T. Was it formation? Was it personnel? Because again, like, couldn't even tell. Like, sometimes if you ask me who the goal scorer was for, like,
under Conte when we lost 6-1, or was it Stellini? I wanted to do. It was so many managers that season. We changed from a back.
I thought we were still talking about when Ange was here, but yeah, he's talking about when Stellini and Conte. Sorry.
Yeah, that 6-1 was the day Hugo Lloris quit at halftime. We ended up going from a back five to a back four that game.
Yeah, well, if we're talking about the Stellini Conte days, then yeah, that would be a very brutal reminder of if you do decide to make a formation change, without really a lot of clear practice that's been shown, at any point, it can lead disastrously, as like you saw against Newcastle. That's a good point, Artist T. Just the way I sort of quickly feel on it, it's just that if Ange has said that before, like, oh, I've used all systems, all formations, It's just we haven't seen that at Spurs. So, and then when he has been asked about changes, because he has been asked lots of times from very annoying journalists who kind of go like, "Oh, you're going to change this time, Ange?" He's joked every time and go like, "Mate, you know the answer. The answer is no." And so I'm confused by that. What is maybe he's playing a game with them. Maybe there's a bit of nuance in there. There probably is a bit of nuance that I'm missing, but it does feel like a bit of a contradiction. It just feels like a contradiction to me. So which one is it? And then Thomas sending in a super sticker. Very kind of you, Thomas. And also, you've also said some very kind things about the channel today and just about the show and everything. So you've been very, very kind to us.
We're going to speak to you, by the way, Thomas. You got your membership and everything. That's when we're going to have a conversation, my man.
He's given a diamond emoji. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much. Well, I think it was a very good fan show. I think a lot of people got some good therapy out of it. I did. There were a lot. I think everyone, as always, did excellently and said some very good things, got a lot off their chest. And what was also nice is that could never be accused of being an echo chamber, Dave, because we probably got a huge variety of opinions tonight. Everything from start Ange out to start Ange in. So couldn't be accused of an echo chamber.
No, definitely can't be. Definitely can't be. And then lastly, Sean says, "Are we clubbing tonight?" Look, what time is it now? It's 20:10 for me. I think I've got about another half an hour of work to do left here once we wrap up to get my show up for tomorrow and stuff like that, Shawnee. So once I have that, I'll wolf the dinner down. Give me about 5 minutes on the dinner. I'll have that down very quickly. I'm starving today. And then I'll hook up. But don't you dare go without me, Shawnee. And then we've got this from Donovan, who striker says, "Lots of love, lads. Come on, you Spurs."
Very kind of you, Dono.
I really appreciate that, Donovan, my man. And look, like I said, we'll speak further on it Thursday or Sunday. And either way, it's probably going to get heated again because, you're going to have Dermot and myself who've probably given up to a certain degree, and yourself and Drew or Soren who haven't. So it's probably going to be spicy even more, Donovan. But big up, my man. And you know what? Really appreciate the patience as well. I should have said that on screen. I really appreciate the patience of you waiting all night to come on as well, my man. So big yourself up. And guys, like I said, get over, check out his channel, Canadian Spurs Boys. But guys, that's it for myself and Jack. 3 hours, 10 minutes tonight. Wouldn't change it for the world. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, my loan report will be out. Basically, I'm getting back to doing them like I done last year, give you how they've played, how their season has gone in general. And then from tomorrow onwards, we'll just be updating you on a week-to-week by basis on how they're getting on. So make sure you check out for that.
Love.
Myself and Jack also have a couple of more pre-records lined up. And then also we will be back here at 6 o'clock for a debate show with Johnny, Sean, and Sam, myself, and Jack about, Tottenham's golden generation that we've bought in terms of youngsters, but also mainly about the impact of Kane and Son's demise. And is that the real reason behind Tottenham's decline this season? So plenty of good things to talk about. Jack, I think I've covered everything, right?
Now, show Dave's loan report some love, please. Send it to your friends, send it to your family, send it to Arsenal fans, whatever it might be. Definitely deserve some love. And like Dave said, good panel show lined up for tomorrow. So clear the schedule, clear the evening, say, you know what, doing a takeaway, gonna have the panel show and some takeaways. So do something like that, and we'll see you for more content throughout the week.
100%, Tyler. It'd be great to have you back on, my man. It'd be absolutely great to have you back on. And DJ AK says, "Jack, we all love Spurs at the end of the day. Come on, you Spurs. Good show. Thanks. I'll play the tunes if we're clubbing." Do you know what? If we do eventually win a trophy, DJ AK, scrap whatever you've got on that day because we'll have you booked in, my man. But guys, go and enjoy what's left of your evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. As always, come on.
Come on, you Spurs. Have a good one, everybody. See you later.